All right, breaking news to begin the Sunday afternoon podcast. It is official. Joe Biden announces that he is out of the 2024 election. He just released a letter to the nation, which we will share with you momentarily. And then a few moments after that, officially gave his endorsement over to Kamala Harris. That doesn't necessarily mean that she will be the nominee of the party. The DNC still has to figure that out. But as of Sunday afternoon, July 21st, just a few moments ago, a historical moment, Frankie C. President Joe Biden announcing that he will now not seek reelection and not accept the nomination from the Democratic Party.
Right.
You're a big time Democrat yourself there, big dog. What are you thinking of? This is all just happening right now.
Yeah, this is literally just happened, what, half an hour ago, at least, at most. And it's like everybody was pushing, everybody in his party, all the Democratic leaders were pushing for it. And I think it's an honorable move. I think it's his, he saw what the nation was looking for. And he says, all right, it's not, it's not gonna. He's not doing it for himself. He's doing it, for the country. He's like, I'm dropping out. It's not. I would like, it's like I'd like to stay on, but I'm going to drop out to the good of the nation, and that's what I'm doing. I think it's an honorable move, a noble move.
The shame of it is even the people. I was watching Joe Manchin on Face the Nation this morning, and even the people that believe in him, that believe he's done a fairly decent job. I know the Republicans are never going to admit to this, but the infrastructure deal, pulling us out of COVID, transitioning out of that.
It's a ton of. He's done a ton of successful things.
Right, because the Republicans. Right. The Republicans will say crime is up. Crime is actually down.
Crime's down. So everybody.
Jobs are in a good place, even though they don't pay as much as they probably should. Yes, we have inflation issues. But the fact of the matter is coming out of the Trump administration and COVID, I thought he did a fairly decent job with with the hand he was dealt. Obviously, I know people can isolate everything we say, Frank, and just hammer in on that. I know border issues and all that kind of stuff. Overall, when you really look back at scores, the guy came in and did what he said he was going to do. The only thing that he kind of went back on was not being a transition candidate and going for this extra term. So Manchin was saying this morning, and I agree.
But now he didn't.
No, he didn't. But he actually had a good 4-year run, or 3.5 years, whatever you want to call it, run so far. It is a shame that it has to end this way for him.
Yeah, but again, I think he saw the writing on the wall, and he was like, "This is what I've got to do." It's not an easy decision, I'm sure, for any candidate to drop out of a race, especially when candidates drop out all the time, but if you're in the leader of one of the two parties, the big parties, that's not an easy decision, especially if it's a close race. But I think he made the right call. And we'll get some. I don't know who's going to replace him, who's going to jump in, but I'm sure we'll get to that and we'll figure that out. But I think it's a good move. It's what the party was looking for, what the party was asking for, because Erin and I were talking about it. It's like 4 more. Can he do 4 more years?
I don't think anybody believed that. No.
Yeah. It's questioning. I was questioning if we do the next 4 months, but it's a tough road. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. We were talking about it on the last podcast with the just doing a campaign, what that entails, and it's a lot.
Right. Yeah, we went pretty in depth on that, how you have to do morning radio, and then you have to do stump speeches, and then you're doing donor calls, and you're doing remote TV appearances, and then it's afternoon radio and more stump calls and more. It's just it's a whole full-time job, and it's even more difficult for an incumbent president to handle that and be on top of that. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. And then after having gone through that, like you just made a good point, can you do another 4 more years after that? It just seems
right
highly unlikely for him and the state that he's in,
Right.
When you see him walking around on a daily basis. So Yeah, tough call. We have the letter. This is the official letter that he put out to the country here. We'll make that up nice and big. As you can see, 146. So just a little over a half hour ago, to your point, he wrote, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investment in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances." Again, that impacts him greatly because his son was one of those very people.
That was the whole thing with Jon Stewart, the burn pits, all that stuff.
The burn pits, yeah, such a big deal. Those burn pits, and he rectified that. He should feel, awfully good about that and his record with, handling that situation, which is just terrible. Again, something that you'd think that our veterans would not have to deal with, right now, and they do. And he was at the forefront of rectifying that. So kudos to him for coming up with that legislation. Passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been positioned to lead, never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcome. Is that a together?
We overcame.
We overcame. I got caught up because that together should not be capitalized. Together,
it's the beginning of a sentence.
Oh, I thought that was a comma. Okay. All right. New sentence. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century
You can
pandemic.
get through it.
It's just hard. Where I have it in the studio, it's very hard to read. I probably should have brought it closer to me. My mistake. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalize and strengthen our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America.
There you go.
What do you think there, Frankie C., about those words?
I think they're honest and
presidential.
Presidential is
unifying.
All the things you want to hear what I think? Or
no, I did it. I answered you a question and then I answered it. I apologize. But I feel like this is the type of leadership we always look for. And here are the Democrats pushing that aside, right or wrong, because the guy's a little too old. It's just a shame.
It's a shame. I mean, it is, but I don't know if he was up to, physically up to 4 more years of being president. It's a tough job. And, we want someone that will be able to do the whole thing front to back. And I guess that's, he saw what the party was asking for and he fulfilled it. And he was like, yeah, okay, I get it. And I think it's just a matter of, the last few weeks, it's been hard for him to do some certain things and the debate. And so it's, again, he'll be focusing on the last 4 months of his presidency. We'll get someone that can handle it a little better in terms of physically. I don't know who's going to be up on deck. I didn't see an endorsement for Kamala Harris in there.
Yeah, well, here it is.
Different? Okay.
Yeah, he did it separately. So right after that, he sent out, "My fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president. and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this.
There you go. All right.
Kamala's the gal. Well, that's not official.
It's not official. It's his endorsement, which seems logical that he would say, I support my vice president.
Right. What else is he going to do?
But whether or not you think Kamala Harris is the person for the job, that's a different story. But she could be, she could not be. I don't know. We're going to have another 4 months to focus on the person that gets put into that place. I don't see who, they have to pick someone pretty quickly. I can't imagine. When is the DNC?
Yeah, the convention's coming up real soon. I think August.
August. Okay. I feel like they should pick someone, or at least have a couple of people in mind on a short list to have at the ready, just so we can get to know who we're thinking about, I can't see someone. I feel like sooner than later. And people in the chat, no, I'm not rattled. I'm just trying to figure out what the next steps are, just like everybody else is. I think it's a smart decision for President Biden to step aside. I think it was it wasn't the selfish decision. It was I'm thinking of the country decision. So that's what a leader does, and Trump's never going to do that. If everybody in the party was like Trump stepped down, he would never do that.
Trump would never step aside. Not that this should be about him at all. It
shouldn't, but I'm just saying this is part. If we're going who versus whom, this is what we're talking about. So, is Kamala Harris the person for the job? I don't know. I guess we'll have to. We're going to examine whoever over the next few weeks. I'm sure the short list of candidates is going to be under a magnifying glass, and it's going to be here's their accomplishments, here's their criteria, their resume, basically. Here's their list of things that they've done and everything that they can do, and their platform and all this stuff. And it's going to be narrowed down shorter and shorter and shorter. So it's not going to be, I don't think they're going to pick someone today. So it'll be over the next few weeks, maybe, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you, Aaron. The Democratic National Convention is August 19th.
Monday, August 19th. Hat tip to Aaron. So we're a month away. We're less than a month away from this historic DNC. And Frank, you made the best point I think you've ever made. For the next month, this is going to be quite a show to watch. So stay with this show because, we'll tackle it in the best way we can with all the dignity that we've become known for when discussing current events.
What?
Well, all the dignity Frank's become known for, and a little bit of the wise assness that I mix into it. We'll be here with you to take you through it. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you're sharing the pod. Appreciate that as always. Good to see some of our hardcore crew here. Robin's in the middle of fixing a mower. Miss Justice is here. Seeing AB.
What did you say? The middle of what?
Robin, I think he's fixing a mower.
Oh, cool.
He's fixing his lawnmower today.
Very good. Aaron pointed out in the chat. Aaron and I today, before the podcast here, we put together a rowing machine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a little exercise thing that I tried out before. I rode, I forget how far it said, 12 miles? No, not 12, 2.5 miles or something. And 100 calories I burned. So that was pretty cool.
Whoa, big time. Big fella. So that's why you got all this energy coming into this surprise episode here, huh?
Let's go, baby. Plus it's Sunday. Who's not, it's a nice, energetic day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. The next few weeks, figuring out, happy birthday, Sarah. That's why we came on the show. That's why we started a podcast for a special birthday podcast.
Yeah. Bad look for Joe Biden to make this announcement on Sarah's birthday. I mean, let's at least, keep the focus on Sarah.
Consideration. But, No, it's going to be a next interesting couple of weeks as the Democratic Party narrows down who is going to be front runner. There's a bunch of names that have been thrown around.
Lots of names, yeah.
Of course, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom is another one. Pete Buttigieg is another one. I feel like Amy Klobuchar is another one, and that was a consideration.
Dear Lord.
I was reading before, there was a couple of articles. Forbes put out a list a few days ago, I guess. Gavin Newsom. Then there's a few different governors around the country: Pritzker, Whitmer, Polis, Shapiro. Bernie Sanders is he's
Still
a year
kicking
older.
around.
He's
Yeah.
a year older than Biden, but according to Forbes here, they're reading it. It's not out of the question. Buttigieg, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Dean Phillips, just a bunch of different representatives from around the country.
Well, let's talk about, because I do want to go into all of those as much as we know about them today, because certainly, like Frank said earlier, we're going to learn a lot more about them as we move on. I mean, that's kind of the evolution of JD Vance right now, right? He got the pick, and it's like, okay, everybody's happy, but now the scrutiny starts, and his record's going to start coming up. He's going to start doing more interviews. He's going to be asked tougher questions that he's never had to answer before. So everybody's going to have to react to those things for JD Vance. Similar to, and I made this comparison the other day, but when Sarah Palin was the pick, it was a bottle rocket. Everybody was like, look out, the Maverick does it again, right? Everybody was like, he picked a woman, he picked a governor, what a strong move and everything. And then we saw how that slowly deteriorated over the course of a month. So JD Vance is going to go under that same scrutiny coming out of getting the nod as the running mate in the RNC, similar to all those people that Frank was just kind of mentioning. But I do want to take a step back here for a second and recognize Biden, because I do think it's tremendous leadership, which is a shame. But this was forced on him. I mean, the party abandoned him, right or wrong, and the media was happy to be a partner in that and join and jump on board, all the way to Lester Holt's interview just this past week, where he was just constantly, peppering him with those questions. He was bringing up Nancy Pelosi and all of her issues.
Be fair, the media's job is to question
100%.
the leadership's ability to lead. So I don't fault the media too much for that in terms of where we just want to know you can do this. I mean, he kept saying, yeah, I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. But then he comes out with stuff like, we got to end stuff by 8:00. And, there were some things that people were worried about legitimately. And it's like, well, the faith everybody's faith was kind of rattled in terms of just him being energetic enough to be able to do it. But I feel like, I don't know, mentally, maybe he was all there, but just slower than, over the years, it just built up and built, so it's just I think overall, though, he did the right thing. He's the party this is what the party wants. This is what we're doing. And then why would he turn his back on the party and the country and be like, no, it would be a selfish thing to be like, I don't care what the country and what my party wants. I'm going to do what I want. It's like, no, he did the right thing, I think.
Do you think that, I believe he did the right thing. Do you think there was anything he could have done in the wake of that debate to get this back? Because give him credit, he hit the road. He went out and did a lot of events. I mean, was it a lot? A lot's a weird word here, right? Because was it a lot? Yes, but presidential elections are always a lot. So it wasn't maybe as much as any other candidate would be doing, and he viewed it as a lot.
Yeah, the debate was a bad look. That was the whole, I feel like that was 90% of why people were like, this is something's up here. And then after that, he did a great speech literally the day after, where he was, his old energetic self, and he was out there, and he was on point with everything, and not the way he was in the debate. But I guess just over the following, then he had COVID, and just over the last couple of weeks, it's just been a little, everybody's faith was kind of shaken up a little bit. So, and plus when all the other leaders are like, yeah, we're not too sure here, it
Right.
rattles the whole party. And it's like, well, all right, now why? There's no unringing those bells. Once the rest of the leaders are like, we're not so sure, then everybody's like, all right, now we're not so sure. If all the rest of the leaders are like, well, we talked to him and everything's great, and he's energetic and he's raring to go and he's the best I've ever seen him and blah blah blah, everybody would be like, all right, well, then okay, it was a bad night. I get it, bad nights.
Right, but he just couldn't get those people back on his side no matter what he did.
Right, you saw everybody else was kind of like, I don't know, and that's where it shook everybody else.
It sucks in one instance, but in the other instance, it's democracy working beautifully, right? It doesn't really matter what you've done. I mean, and you look at Biden, he has had he should be very proud of his career in life. Yeah. I mean, his son gave his life for this country. His other son's a cokehead. All right, that's a rub. But he's been in public service for a really, really long time.
Right.
Vice president, president, like he's done all he can. He should be proud of his legacy. All that considered, what have you done for me? Can you win this time? No, then get the fuck out. I mean, it's kind of the beauty of the system. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's not built on one person or not. It's about the collective. And if you can't get it done for us, then you're going to be shown the door. I know it stinks and it's unbelievable, but it's kind of it's working, right? The system's working. It's
when you don't have faith in your leader anymore, and that's, I mean, it's not that I don't have faith in them. I feel like it's just when you don't think he could handle the position anymore. It's like, okay, this is why democracy, you step aside, and then that's why it's term limits. This, 2 terms is, but that's why it's every 4 years. It's not every 8 years. If you do it 4 years, then if you can do it another 4 years, you try again. But so he did 4 years. He's going to finish the 4 years and we'll get someone new, which it's exciting now. It's scary, but it's exciting to see who's going to, I'd love to know who it's going to be. And because I'm trying to think if there's going to be a bad debater when going up against Trump. Who could they? You have to pick someone who could go toe to toe with him, and call him out on his bullshit, and stand there. Not only call him out on his bullshit, but get your point across. Your whole debate can't just be fact checking him. It's got to be fact checking him plus putting your platform forward too.
I kind of agree with you. I think 80% needs to be fact checked. I think whoever takes over needs to put his lies and bullshit in the forefront, and then say, that's why it makes sense for her to be her, because she could say, as part of the Biden administration, we've done this. This is what he said he's done, or what he's claimed to have done, or what he's lying about. Here's what we've been doing. And
I don't see the point of a debate if everybody could just lie and say whatever. Like, yeah, I'm Superman and I could fly, and it's like, okay, what?
You're right, but it's up to the candidate to fact check that, not the.
It shouldn't be. I think in order to run a debate, this is just an opinion. I feel like there should be the moderators, and there should be 2 fact checkers sitting there. One to fact check one person, and the other fact check the other person, or maybe a team, or maybe it's just one person, an overall fact checker that sits there and then buzzes and goes, nope, that's actually, the number is this number, it's not that number, or nope, this is a different year, or that you weren't president then, or whatever the hell the lie is. They stop the mic, time stops, and goes, nope, incorrect, that's a false statement, or hits a buzzer, time stops, the mic cuts off, the fact checker comes on and goes, nope, that's incorrect, you said a false thing. There should be a live fact checker running parallel to the debaters. Let the debaters talk, but once they say something that's not true, sorry, that's incorrect. You can't go spreading bullshit. If you want to debate the facts, we'll debate the facts. But once you start lying, then the rules go out the window. You could just say, once lying is acceptable, and then you could just say anything and win a debate just based on lies. It's stupid.
Can I propose this as the sound effect?
Wrong.
Okay, whatever works. I think
Okay,
that's fine.
because I think we have the best buzz and the incorrect
good-
buzz in the business.
It's a good buzz.
That's just me. Bless your heart, Carrie. Thanks for asking about my mom. She's doing okay. She's very, very exhausted. She threw out her back in the midst of dealing with COVID.
Jeez.
So we just ran out and got her a cane so she could walk around a little bit. And she's just tired, and you know how it is. It's just
Got walking COVID.
listen. She's tired and miserable from raising me, and on top of that, she has COVID. So it's not been an easy fight for my mother this whole time.
Is she dropping out of taking care of you?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's it. I'm stepping aside. Your dad's in charge now.
I think so.
Fully endorse your dad.
She's given up a bunch. I'll just say over the years, she has thrown her hands up quite often.
All right.
But you know, that being said, thank you for asking. Back to this. I mean, she's shocked by this, as I think we all are. We are living in, let's be honest, we are living in one of the more exciting times ever. I mean, it's the
There's a lot
truth.
going on. I mean, I feel like every generation's going to say that, though.
Yeah, there
always
usually
something
is.
going on.
But there was a bit of a lull there, don't you think? I mean, we thought we were dealing with something with the housing crisis, and yes, that was a to-do. But frankly, since, you know, I don't know. And of course, there was the Iraq War prior to that. There's been
9/11.
some things.
I mean, I feel like every 20 years there's a huge something going on. 20 years ago, 23 years ago, 9/11. Before that, the Berlin Wall, the whole, communist, the fight against communism.
There's always been stuff, but I feel like this has been a bit of a crazy 3 to 4 year period.
Oh, it's been a crazy 8-year period. I mean, ever since Trump, I hate to keep bringing it back to, but ever since Trump stepped into the political arena, it's been nuts.
I think 2008 to 2019 was a relatively quiet 11 years.
2008.
Because again, you're coming out of the financial crisis of the housing market. Obama comes in, and again, Frank loves to make this joke all the time, and I love it too. Cream suit jacket was like,
that was the biggest scandal we had. But then 2017, Trump gets sworn in.
It's not as big of a deal as Democrats make it out to be.
It was a big deal. He put in some bullshit fucking judges. He gave tax cuts to billionaires.
True.
It was a fucked up 4 years.
True.
COVID hit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Till 19. Till 19.
The first 3 years.
Yeah, the first 3 years. Okay, obviously he put the Supreme Court people on, and that's going to have.
He did a lot of bullshit in those 3 years, though. Cozying up to the dictators, pushing aside our allies.
I'm talking about tentpole. Yes, I don't disagree with you. I'm talking about those tentpole holy shit moments. I think from 2008 to 19, it was relatively quiet. And then you have the pandemic, you have January 6th, you have the election, the debate, now an incumbent president polling. When was the last time an incumbent president decided not to seek re-election? I have no idea. Carter lost to Reagan.
Carter lost. Nixon resigned in his second term, right?
Yeah.
Ford, he ran again, right? Did he run again?
I'd have to really go back and look.
He was. I don't know if he ran again, but he was sworn in. He was never elected president. Ford. He was sworn in after Nixon resigned. I don't know if he ran after that though. I can't remember.
Robin is saying Ford, and no, he did not run after that.
He did not run. Okay, so there you go. Ford did not seek re-election. He was sworn in. He was a president, but then he did not run again. Okay.
So Gerald Ford, we got to go all the way back to Gerald Ford, the last time somebody decided not to seek re-election. 40
something years ago.
Yeah, well, Carter was what, 76 to 80?
Something like that, yeah.
So 72 to 76?
That's almost 50 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, what a crazy thought.
But I think he's doing a smart thing. The party wants someone else. And if you don't think that you could beat the other, if the party thinks you can't beat the other side, let's put our best foot forward. If that's who it is, that's who it is. If it's not, we got other people we can go with. It's not about the person in charge. It's about the country and what's best for the country.
Yeah.
So getting the right person in the position, I think, is key. And that's why Washington was like, yeah, we're not doing kings. That's it. 8 years is max, and that's what we do.
Okay. I think Kamala is the right person, and here's why.
Okay.
I think that Gavin Newsom, I stand by this. I think Gavin Newsom is the future of the Democratic Party. This is an outsider thought. Somebody asked me again the other day what my political affiliation is, and I am an independent. I am registered as an independent. So I can't vote in any primaries. But I think Kamala Harris is the right one because excuse me, I know they want to win here and I know it's dangerous, but at max, you're talking about a 4-year term for Trump. Unless he does the unthinkable, which is not above or below him, and decides to extend the president's term, which would be quite difficult to do. It's 4 years before you get another real crack at this, right?
Right.
And I also think that he is going to leave. Trump is, by the way, because of J.D. Vance, because he is so young and he's passed the baton, I believe, Trump, by picking J.D. Vance. I think that's a signal to everybody. I'm doing 4 and I am going to get out.
Why is that a signal? He needs to pick a vice president. It's not like he can't.
It's a signal because he picked the young guy. He could have picked the 2 older gentlemen that were being considered. That certainly might have given him more.
They weren't that much older.
Yeah, but Marco Rubio, a little bit more with the established old school Republicans. Bergie, the other one. Definitely. I thought Bergman would have been the pick. Bergman. I thought he was the move.
But I don't think him picking J.D. Vance is I don't think he's ever looking to pass the torch. I don't think he's thinking about that.
I think he is. I think he is more so after the assassination. But I think he is, because you don't pick a guy who could do it for the next bunch of years if you think that you want to stick around and do it. That's just my feeling. That's just
but I don't think he thinks that way. I don't think he's like, oh, who's going to do this when I'm gone? I think he's thinking is, I'm going to do this next. That's all I think he's thinking of.
No, see, I disagree with you. I think he's thinking we bring in J.D.
my next
Vance.
McDonald's run. Where's that Diet Coke I ordered?
I think he's.
Why am I so orange?
It's not the right orange today. I don't know. People tell me I'm not as vibrant.
Why don't my suits fit?
I think he's thinking. Why
are my hands so small? All right, I'll let you speak.
No, it's good. I'm not going to stop you from making jokes. I love the jokes. Right. I think he's thinking Vance comes in. What I think he's thinking is this is now the Trump party. And J.D. Vance will be the first Trump Republican to run. Same as way people said Reagan Republicans, right? I think he's more thinking now, I can't do this for the next 8, 12 years. But if I establish myself the way I have, if I bestow the vice presidency upon J.D. Vance, he can run after me under the MAGA or National Republicans or Trump Republican banner, whatever you want to call it. It'll still be the Republican Party, but the banner, I'm saying, he could do that and he could win. Who could his vice president be other than Donald Trump Jr., because they're buddies to the nth degree. And so there'll still be a Trump in the White House. I'll get to go off to Mar-a-Lago and be consigliere. I'll be there for thoughts and opinions, and I'll be able to tweet and still run the show without having to be the president. And then who knows after Vance, if he gets 8 years, if Donald Trump Jr. now with that experience will have the ability to go and continue in the White House. That's what I think Donald Trump is thinking. Not so much about me, Donald Trump, but more about Trump. And that can continuing beyond his years.
I think you're giving him a little too much credit. I think he's thinking, me, how could I feel like the only reason he's running is to keep himself out of jail. I think that's a huge factor in his decision. And I don't think he cares about who comes after him. I don't think he gives a shit. I think he's just looking for his own shit. I think he's looking to create as much, like his motivation for the first term, in my opinion, was two things. One, I'm gonna undo everything Obama did because I can't stand the guy, and two, I'm gonna deregulate and do everything and tax cuts so that my businesses and all my rich friends can take advantage of that. Those are the two big motivations: money and revenge against Obama for some stupid reason. I think this time around, it's same deal: money and keeping his friends rich and himself rich and his companies rich, and keeping himself in office so that he could avoid any serious consequences. That's opinion, but I think that's his motivation. I don't think he cares about the American people. He said, so, I just want your vote. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. It's like he said, I feel like I'm paraphrasing, but I feel like there was a recent rally where he was like, I don't care about you. I just want your vote. Something like that. He said something along those lines. I might be paraphrasing. I might be misremembering. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like there was something like that.
All right. Well, back to what I was saying before. I think Kamala is the right person because I do believe that Gavin Newsom is the future of the Democratic Party. I believe Gavin Newsom will be there to run in 28 because that's the next. Like I don't know. Okay, let's play a game, Frank. Let's assume all the Democrats behind the scenes, whatever, feel Gavin Newsom's the future of the party. Let's say we agree on that point that Gavin Newsom is the future of the party. For this sake, do you put him in now to try and beat Trump? Or do you say we can bear 4 years, let's sacrifice somebody else, see if they could win? Maybe if they don't, it's only 4 years of Trump before it's 2028 and we get Gavin Newsom in there to run the way, to get a full shake at it, a full chance.
I feel like why not put him in now? I don't.
Do you think he can win in 4 short, it's July, the election's in November. Do you think he can pull that off in 4 short months?
I don't know
Again, I'm using Gavin Newsom as an example. It could be candidate X. Do you, if that's your best chance at being the leader and the next president of the United States, do you put him in now, or do you say we run somebody else?
We've known Kamala for 3.5 years.
It's why I think she's the right person, because you put her in.
Head start.
Yeah, you put her in. She's the most qualified right now. Is she the leader of that party? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody would assume that. Maybe Joe believes that, but I don't think anybody else believes that. And then you keep Newsom on the sidelines. Maybe you put him in a position of whatever if she does pull off an upset and wins. And then, because that's the thing. If you win with her, okay, great. You've remained in power. But if you don't win, now you got your slugger coming off the bench who can, really swing the bat for you in 28. What do you do?
It's not a bad idea. You think everybody will be jazzed up enough for Kamala? Could be.
I think it's all in how she handles herself, if that's what you're asking.
No, I don't know what I'm asking.
I think, as you're saying, could people be jazzed up for Kamala? I think it's I think it's going to be up to her. Can she get in there and mix it up with Trump at a debate? Will he give her a debate in this? The pressure is going to be on him to give her a debate. They did have a debate
scheduled,
right?
That was Biden and Trump. I don't know if that changes.
Right.
So if she steps in, that's a good question. I don't know. She's already got Biden's endorsement. So she's ahead of the game at the moment. Nobody else has been endorsed by anyone, I don't think. So who knows what they'll say? Maybe George Clooney will run.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd like to get him in there. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd like to get Ed Harris involved too. Is he still around?
Ooh, Ed Harris would be good.
He'd be fantastic. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. The 3 biggest factors are for the vice president. Can she debate? Can she get a debate? Can she get the nomination going into the DNC? and can she fundraise? Those are the three things.
That's four things.
No, can she get a debate with Trump? Can she get the nominee? Can she fundraise?
Oh, she said, "Can she debate?" And then she said, "Can she debate?"
Yeah, well, can she get a debate and handle it? I guess you could say 3.5 factors.
Okay.
Can she pull the money in? Because again, that money goes, I believe that money can go to her, but I think that can be challenged in court, which if that's the case, the Republicans will definitely do whatever they can to gunk up those works of transferring all those donations from him to her. So money's a big factor, as we talked about in the last election. When you can't be in the city or a place, your money is working for you to run ads to get, what you need to get across in that particular election area. And then can you get the nomination going into the convention? Because so let's talk about that. What's the next steps, right? What are here we are. What are the next steps for the Democrats, right?
The next steps, I feel, are okay. You accept the resignation of Biden. I don't know if there's you have to officially do anything, but the next steps would be to put together a short list of who the nominees would be for the Democratic Party. You get like 4 or 5 names. You shop it around the party and say, "What do you think this list? What do you think of this list? Who do you think on this list of 5 people? Who's your?"
Which probably has been going on, right? What you're saying is probably been going on unofficially behind the scenes from Pelosi and Schumer,
right. And if movies and TV have taught me anything, they go to each candidate and they vet them. They go through the whole vetting process and they run through all the, here's what's going to happen, is the Secret Service, the this, the that, and are you ready for all this? Can you handle all this? Your family, the whole deal. And they just weed out who's not ready and who is. Now, Dia in the chat has said that she worked with Kamala. Back up in the, I worked with Kamala. She ain't ready. I'd love to know, Dia, how, in what way you worked with, if you're able to talk about it. How did you work with, in what capacity did you work with Kamala? That would be interesting to know.
This justice says just pick some names out of a hat and be done with it.
Hey, I love it.
Could you imagine? All right, everybody, welcome. We've got a couple names in this bag here. Who wants to reach their hand in and pick one?
Yeah. Whose names do you put in?
All right, so to jump off on what Frank said here, that's the next step, right?
Dia, I'm with you. Bernie Sanders I'd love Bernie Sanders in office. That would be wonderful.
Can they figure out who the nominee is going to be going into the convention?
Right, a month away. Usually
we know who the candidate is going into the election. There's 4,700 some odd Democratic delegates who will vote to select a nominee. Like a little mini primary process would precede the convention, and they don't know if that's going to happen yet, but it could involve, Harris and whoever else wants to start to throw the name in. That's the other thing too. These are independent. These are people, so Harris might be there, Pelosi and the money and the donors might be there, but that can't stop somebody from going, "Hey, everybody, I want it. I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
Anybody can campaign for this right now. So,
there's actually a person who changed their name legally to, I want to get this right. It's literally anybody else. Someone changed their name legally to literally anybody else and is running for president.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I don't know what party affiliation they have, but it's pretty great.
So there's that. If there's going to be an open convention, the Democrats could hold a brokered convention in which all the delegates would show up to the convention uncommitted, subject to backroom deals brokered by local and state party bosses along with elected officials, which historically have led to dozens of rounds of voting. Brokered conventions were regular practice before the party changed its convention rules in the 1970s to require delegates to commit to the candidate who wins their state's primary. do delegates have to vote for Biden? So convention rules state that the 4,000 pledged delegates shall in good conscience reflect the sentiments of those who elected them, meaning they're expected but not legally required to vote for Biden. If no candidate secures the majority of delegate votes on the first ballot pledged delegates along with 700 unpledged delegates can vote for whoever they please on the second ballot. Unpledged delegates do not vote in the first round. The convention is the 19th to the 22nd in Chicago, as we said. So a lot of backdoor deals can be figured out ahead of time if it's going to be Harris. That's why I'm saying Harris is the right play, because you don't want to damage somebody like a Gavin Newsom, who you think, let's assume he's the future of the party. And I know Don brought up the latest thing in California, and that's all scary. We haven't gotten into all that kind of stuff yet. Has he overreached in some of those things? Did he not handle the pandemic all that well? There's been mistakes there. No candidate is perfect. I'm not saying there's not shit against Newsom. There is. I just believe he's far too tall and good looking to not be fucking. He ran California.
To be fair, I'd want to obviously have it. I've really focused on other candidates because there was no need to. So I'd want to make it fair. I'd want to look more closely at Newsom and whoever else is in the short list
before we get an official Frankie C endorsement.
Yeah, because I don't know very much. I know here little snippets here there. I remember Newsom did an amazing debate against, I feel like it was who the hell did he debate? And really
DeSantis,
and it was
knocked his teeth in.
Yeah, it was an amazing fucking performance. So that was like a huge win. So I'd want to look at more though of his policies and what he's done, his history, and all that stuff. So yeah, there are some candidates out there that I'd want to take a closer look at.
I think you and a lot of people in the Democratic Party. Now, I don't think it really matters, because I think people are going to just vote against Donald Trump and vote for the Democrat no matter who it is, right? Mm-hmm. But to your point, as you figure out who that really is, the Democrats are probably going to want to take a look at who's around, you know?
Yeah, it's true. We got to, it's what's it called? It's not going to be an easy couple of weeks, but we got to, again, they need a short list. I'm sure they've got it. I'm sure they have it all set already of who, but now they just got to go to each one. What's your platform? What are you running on? What's your give me your bullet points for everything and a rundown of your plan, your healthcare, your this, your that. Do you have a plan? Do you have anything that you know? And they got to put one person forward. Because the primaries, there's no. You said something about there being another.
Well, will they run a mini primary? Will they figure it out? Are they going to anoint somebody? Like, there's no real, there's no. Again, we had we had open conventions prior to the 70s. We haven't now. There's 4,000 delegates. The 700 don't vote in the first round. What are we to expect here? Does the party rally around Kamala? I believe they will. I think she's the pick because, like I said, if Gavin Newsom is really the person, do you want to taint him by giving him only
rushing him in?
By rushing him in, he's got 4 months. Trump is coming off this high of he won the debate. He survived an assassination attempt. Court case thrown out. I mean, there has not been a bigger pile of luck to ever fall in somebody's lap than Donald. Let's be honest. Like, Donald Trump is one of the luckiest people we have ever seen. He's born into wealth. He squandered most of it. He still found a way to be on top. He's kept his name in the focus out of being just a great marketer. He winds up winning an upset that nobody saw coming up till the last couple of days before the 2016 election, because that was just a scam to sell books. Prior to that, every 4 years he'd be like, I might be running for president, and then the one time he actually goes through with it, he wins. Mm-hmm. He loses. Okay, let's talk about this bit of luck.
I see it, Dia. We'll get to it.
He wins the presidency. He does a whatever job you want to say for 3 years. he does, and this is indisputable, a terrible job his last year with handling COVID. I don't think even the staunchest, I think if you were an asshole wearing a bandage on your ear the last couple of days, you would even admit that he did not handle the pandemic well. And as a result of that, he lost his seat. He then doesn't concede the election. He goes on this tirade of just bullshit about how he really won. It is completely ridiculous. January 6th happens. He fumbles the handling of that. He basically wasn't even there the last 2 months of the fucking presidency. Pence did everything. They should have kicked him out. They didn't. So he survives that.
And,
he's at the lowest of the low. As Joe Biden comes in, there's almost no coming back from that. And here we are 4 years later, and it looks like he could win this thing in a landslide. I mean, that's luck like I've never fucking seen before.
It's insane.
Turns his head to look at a chart and misses being killed. The luck would look at him and go, shit.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
But this could, I mean, this might not be luck. If we get someone in that out debates him and outshines him over the next 4 months, you don't know. I mean, I think.
Well, listen, I think that's what it came down to for the Democrats. They figure we're better off.
Of potato chips is going to outshine them.
You're better off rolling the dice with somebody else than trying to keep propping him up. I think that's really what it came down to for them.
Yeah, and in terms of Kamala, Dia pointed out that she worked with Kamala. She was one of the commissioners of her department. What kind of department is that?
Yeah, can we get a little more context on that?
Yeah, but that's all. It's really cool that you worked with her. How long ago? Because maybe she wasn't ready back then. But she's been vice president for 4 years. That's got to count for, experience-wise. That's got to be good. Let's see. Yeah. So the next steps, we've got 4 months till the election. We've got 1 month until the Democratic National Convention. It's going to be a tough few weeks ahead of us, but it's going to be all right. We'll get someone that will out debate Trump in a. I feel like anybody could out debate him if you just call him out on his bullshit. Every time he lies, it's hard because you only have 2 minutes. So every time it's like he'll lie for 2 minutes, and then you got to use your 2 minutes to fact check him.
Yeah,
it's like you don't get to say what you want to say. It's like, can I have an extra 2 minutes just to fact check him and then say what I need to say to answer the question? But that's why I think there should be the moderators to keep everything running smoothly, and then there should be a fact checker standing on the side with a buzzer that shuts the mics, opens his own mic or her own mic and goes, fact check, those numbers are incorrect, this is what the numbers are, or fact check, President Biden actually did that, you had nothing to do with it, something like that. That would be amazing. That's how you run a debate.
I don't remember her debate with Pence all that well, other than I thought she handled herself fairly well. I thought there was a couple of moments of I thought Pence was good too. I don't really remember anybody like I remember she kind of was a little snooty and snapped at him at one point for something, which I don't think is a bad thing. Let's talk about that for a second. She obviously younger, right?
Sure.
Obviously, as a lawyer and a prosecutor, like I feel like she can get in there and mix things up a bit. And let's be the other thing, as a minority, as a black woman, like the black vote is so crucial, and we've seen that vote, that minority vote, Hispanics, right, slowly kind of trickle over to the Republican Party a little bit. You got to wonder if this pulls it all back. I mean, she was always on the ticket, but I wonder if you're a disenfranchised black woman in this country, and you are, well, let me say it this way.
Yeah. Sorry, Robin made me laugh because I pointed out something I forgot.
Oh, the fly on the head?
The fly on his head.
Remember that?
That was great.
Those are good SNL shows too, when they were doing the flies, when they did all that kind of shit. Those are good times, if you're a black woman in this country and a Republican, or a black woman and you're a disenfranchised Democrat or independent, can you vote against the first black woman running for the presidency? I don't know. Could you? I mean, I can't. I'm I'm an Italian guy, right? If the first Italian gets put up there, could I not?
You're gonna
vote
vote
for
for him
him?
because he's a no. You vote for who you think is gonna be.
Of course, but there also is an importance, and more so for minorities,
Absolutely is. Yeah.
to be represented. So it's like,
Totally.
I mean, listen, my kids ask me about this kind of stuff all the time, and when they ask me about Donald Trump, what I do impress upon them is he was the first person from Queens to be elected to the presidency of the United States of America. From Queens, you might not agree, to be a person from Queens as we are, or I am, because I think you were born in Brooklyn, right?
Right.
Brooklyn people, right? But to be, I mean, that's a little example of anybody can do it if you really kind of set your mind to it. So I look for the positives in those little instances with the kids.
Queens isn't like, there's millions of people from Queens. It's not like it's
I know that
plucked out of the middle of nowhere.
It's hard to be the president of the United States, and to have lived in Queens and be raised in Queens and a fellow Queens person going there, there's a little like, oh wow, a little point of pride there. A little point of pride there. But what were we talking about just before this?
I'm not that proud of that fact.
I know.
I don't know. Something. Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. For black women, like, does she just suck that vote back in over to her side? Does she get those people that were losing? Does she get?
Yeah. No. God.
Let's talk about just flat out women. Let's put the women issue on the card here. Roe v. Wade, obviously a big deal, right? I mean, we're at this crucial state. Trump tried to take credit for he tried to swing the Roe v. Wade thing into, I put it back to the states and everybody's proud. That fell flat on its face. I mean, he stopped talking about that afterwards because everybody told him that was even a mistake. That's not testing well. Right. Now you have a woman who could be the nominee. As a woman, do you feel more like, how could I not vote for the first woman?
Well, Bird has a good point. Woman doesn't exactly mean on my side. There are women in the Republican Party that are just fine with Roe, the whole Roe v. Wade thing going, so it's just because you're a woman, but being a Democratic woman helps with Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, but I wonder if she pulls some Republicans, I wonder if it's finally like, all right, let's say you're a Republican and you're a conservative and everything, but now you have Trump, who set this motion forward with his Supreme Court selections. You have JD Vance, who doesn't even want exceptions. I mean, Trump only wants them because he's like, you have to get elected. That's why you need this. So he's trying to impress that on the Republican Party. JD Vance disagrees and says there should be no exceptions on abortion for anything, no matter what. And you're a woman in this country. You have to think about that a little, I would think. It's
important to be represented. Absolutely. I think that's a big factor that needs to be considered. So all of it has to play a part. Who's going to be the best? Who's going to give you representation? Who's going to, so that's a big part of it as well. So I think it all has to play in. I think we're right now at a turning point it's going to be difficult, but I don't think impossible. I think they're going to, if it's Kamala, they'll, get her ready for everything. I don't think it'll be an impossible thing. I think she'll be, if they need her to be the candidate, it'll work. And that's what it would be. And I don't think it's a mistake. I think that would be great. I have no, think that would work.
So going back to the three, the next steps, can she secure this? Can she whip all those people behind the scenes? Can she, for lack of a better term, whip those votes? Can she get the endorsements? Can she get the party together behind her? Does anybody feel like it's not her? We got to try Newsom now. Does anybody feel like we got to look? I mean, again, I told you I was watching.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, good.
was gonna say, what if Newsom's the vice president?
I wouldn't. I see if I were him, though, I would be like, no, thanks. I'll wait. I'm not going to be second to you going into this. I think I could be the president, and I'll do that on my own when it comes my time. If I'm him, I
Well,
don't take a VP role. No way.
well, it could be 8 years from now
It could be.
if Kamala runs again in 28.
Yeah, it could be.
So
If she wins. That's the thing too. Well, that's kind of where we were. Can she win in a debate? Can she mix it up enough with Trump? Can she handle Trump in a debate and put his lies and bullshit at the forefront
I
and
hope
put
so.
their record together? Because if I'm her, I would be like, you need to focus on Biden as your, because now here's what you've done with Kamala. You've taken all the negatives of Biden out of the equation, right? The dementia, the oldness, all the fatigue, all that stuff, that's gone. And now you can stand on record. And not only can you stand on record for these 4 years, but I think you stand on record and try and take credit for the 8 years he was VP with Obama, and start to put those 12 years in a package and be like, look at everything that the Biden administration has done when it was the Obama administration and when it was his administration or our administration. And here's what we're going to continue to do. And everything that guy just said is bullshit. Can she handle that in a debate and handle herself in a way to make that work? Because to your point, Newsom won because he was able to pull all that bullshit away from DeSantis, all that hyperbole and rhetoric. He was able to disqualify most of that.
Yeah, he was very good at it. He just called it right out and said, "Nope, that's not what happened. That's wrong. Everything you're saying is wrong." And I think that would be, if they really want to, whoever this nominee is going to be, they have to train them to debate that way, to be that sort of a debater, and be able to get to go, 12 rounds with Trump. And I think most people are going to be able to do that. Most of the people in the forefront.
Well, they gotta start moving forward fairly quickly here, right? I mean, and it's all just happening. By the way, supposedly this story is coming out right now that senior staff did not find out until just earlier today that he was not going to seek re-election.
Right.
He said, President Biden said that he's going to address the nation later on in the week. I'm wondering if he's giving the party 4 or 5 days to get their act together so that by the time he addresses the nation on this, he can say, hey, everybody, here's your ticket.
Right.
It's
that could be
A and B as your, as your duo.
Because he still has to work within the, he's going to work with the party. So I'm sure it'll be some kind of cooperative thing.
100%. Which leads to the other question, which was, you talked about Trump just wanting to keep himself out of prison. Did Joe Biden cut a deal? Is this all part of the process? Is this why it took so long after he just said this past week he's not going anywhere and now he's out? Was this time when he's recovering from COVID and coming off the Lester Holt interview, or even prior to the Holt interview, just a process of him negotiating his exit? Because he certainly has, I mean, I know things have been debunked with Ukraine, but there's things with Ukraine and China that he would probably be investigated by.
But the president has immunity, according to the. According to, I mean, what's the problem?
What's
according
undeniable?
To the Supreme Court, he can do whatever he wants.
You're correct. What's undeniable about this is Hunter Biden has been convicted. Joe Biden has pledged that he wouldn't commute his sentence or give him a pardon. But that does not hold or stop Kamala Harris or whoever the Democratic nominee is, if they were to come in. Like, you know what I'm saying? In other words, does he make those deals? Does he say, okay, I will step aside. However, if you were to win, you have to pardon my son. You have to, do this or that or whatever, put enough money in a pack for whatever the deal is. I don't know
we don't even know who the nominee is yet.
No, but I'm saying he could make that deal with the party. He could make that deal with Schumer and Pelosi and Obama and Clintons and whoever. That's the other thing I keep hearing, is that the Clintons are so much back involved in all of this, that Bill and Hillary are like taking meetings and working stuff behind the scenes. I heard they were sticking with Joe, and there was a little rift there because Obama just refuses to have any sort of opinion and again be a kingmaker. He does not want to say anything just yet until there is a nominee. And I think that the Clintons were annoyed with that. I think Obama was annoyed with that. And I think they have every right to be annoyed with it. Because Obama could have calmed this all down if he really wanted to. And clearly he did not want to. Whether that was personal for Joe or just more so, he's just never going to throw an opinion out there until somebody has the nomination, which is what we saw in 2020, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think to say that there's a deal cut is speculation, of course, but it's not impossible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows? We'll see, obviously, how it shakes out, because once everything is in place, will whatever deals take place? Who knows? If there are deals.
Yeah. There's a lot of, you want to hear some of the people, what they're saying?
Sure. I have a running clock here that I
Gotcha.
have to jump away in a few minutes.
Yeah, you jump if you need to. So just after the announcement, the Trump campaign sent an email out to supporters saying, quote, "If we're going to win back the White House, it will be all because the momentum we built at this very moment right here, right now, in an effort to raise more funds." So they're obviously working on the Sunday, trying to jump on this whole thing. It's funny. Aaron Sorkin wrote an op-ed this morning that we were going to talk about on tomorrow's show, basically saying that the Democrats should nominate Mitt Romney. Republican, obviously, former Republican presidential candidate. But in his years of going from Massachusetts to, where is he, Utah now, I think?
I don't know.
He has become one of those never Trumpers. He has moved a lot more to the center than the right. And what a way to, I mean, it was an interesting, again, you're talking about somebody who writes entertainment for a living, but what an interesting premise. If you found a left-leaning Republican, certainly somebody of Mitt's stature and his experience, both in executive roles and in Congress, the Senate, I should say specifically, if you take the shine off the Republicans by putting one of those kinds of people up. Again, what do you really have to lose, you know?
It's interesting, but you got to see where someone like him, what his policies are going to be for the country, Roe v. Wade, healthcare and jobs and all this stuff. Is he going to run under a Democratic ticket? Is he going to be a Democratic
he would.
person? He would. So who the hell knows? I mean, it'd be interesting, but it would be very weird. But I guess crazier things have happened. We elected a game show host, so I guess anything's possible.
People have accused him of being a Democrat in a Republican skin, I mean, the same way they accused Manchin of being a Republican in a Democrat skin.
Mm-hmm.
And Manchin, to be fair, has moved to the independent. He's now classified as an independent, not a Democrat anymore. Caitlin Collins from CNN spoke to Donald Trump minutes after Joe Biden dropped out of the race and said, quote, "He told me he believes that VP Harris will be easier to beat than Joe Biden would have been."
Yeah, of course he's going to say that. He's not going to say, "No, now we're scared."
Right.
He's going to run on. We're going to beat anybody. I don't care who they put up.
I think he has to act that way. I think he has to act like it doesn't matter who's on the other side. We're running on our record and our reputation and our,
of course,
our issues and where we see those kinds of things. I think he's got to say that stuff.
100%. He's
got to minimalize whoever comes in next. I mean, that's always his sort of MO anyway.
Yeah, we're better than ever. That other side is the Democrats. Blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter who it is. Trump is I'm the only one that could save you from the country imploding. It's like, all right, easy.
Mm-hmm.
Fear mongering.
Joe Scarborough was on MSNBC talking to Katie Tur, and they started asking about an all-female ticket, if it could be Harris Whitmer. And
I don't know much about Whitmer, but okay.
Yeah, Joe Scarborough says certainly it's possible. I mean, anything is possible at this point now, right?
Yeah, I'll see why not.
Yeah. Joe Biden is still going to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu despite dropping out of the race. I mean, obviously, he's still the president of the United States and will be until, you know, till the
January
end.
21st.
Yeah, I mean, even if he loses his marbles completely, they will hide him and just keep him in it to the whole. I mean, which will you have to think about that too. I mean, okay, yeah, here we are, one announcement at a time. He drops out of the race. He's going to remain president. If it's Kamala Harris that takes over, does the conversations then shift to and start happening where she's saying, hey, if you were to resign here and make me the president, that would be kind of a big deal. I know it's only a couple of days, but now you're talking about President Harris seeking re-election versus Vice President Harris seeking to win the election.
That'd be interesting. I don't. Huh?
Does he resign?
This?
I'm just saying, like, I'm just speculating, thinking out loud. She becomes the nominee, right?
Right.
Does the conversation then start to shift towards, boy, wouldn't it be good to have Joe resign altogether, get out of the way, let her be the president of the United States for the next couple of months,
so that she could just continue what she's
right
doing.
Right.
Interesting. That's not a far-fetched idea.
Because what the hell do you need him for? Like him, he's lame duck now. He's useless, basically.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. It's not a terrible idea, but that depends if Kamala is the nominee.
I mean, if you think about it, if something were to go down, you know, whether it be, I'm talking about like a major war or something, but let's just say a hurricane or, you know, whatever, something that a president would act upon and have to do. Wouldn't it be great to have her be there doing it? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I would think that that's the way they would run things. Like, let's say, God forbid, there's another huge hurricane and FEMA's there and the president's expected to make a visit to help out. I mean, that has to be her now and not him, even if he is still the president.
Right.
You can't really let him do anything in these last couple of months. It should all be her doing it.
Maybe if she's the nominee, but I'm sure he's going to still be doing things. It's not like he's not going to finish his job. I mean, if there's stuff that has to be done, he's going to negotiate. He's going to do whatever he has to do. So, but I have to run.
Okay, go ahead.
Jump out. Good talking to you on a Sunday.
Thank you, Frankie C, for being here. Appreciate you.
No problem. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, tomorrow's show is going to be good.
Yes. See you later.
All right, there goes the great Frankie C. There he is, putting in the hours, being here with us on a Sunday. Appreciate you all being here, by the way. Everybody who's still in the chat: Dia, Christella, Neil, Robin, Rennie, Christine, Lindarella, AB. Sorry if I can't get to everybody. Bird, of course. Yamoto, who says that Kamala's going to steal the election. Nice to have that point of view too. DJ Shenanigans was the whole chat's filled. I love it. Love seeing you all here on a Sunday. I literally came off the pool. I'm literally in bathing suit to come on. This is far too much of an important thing not to be here with you guys live. So appreciate you guys all being here. Remember to hit that share button. Help us spread the word for just common sense discussion and debate and information sharing and, of course, entertainment. That's what we pride ourselves on here on this podcast. So help us out and hit that share button. Throw it around on Twitter, on Instagram if you can, Facebook. It's always a help wherever your sphere of influence is on social media. Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett has blasted the Democrats over this decision, saying Joe wasn't the problem, the Democrats were. She blames the donors for pushing Joe out of the race, saying, quote, "I hope the geniuses that push the most consequential president of our lifetime out have a plan. Who in the hell couldn't sell the MF accomplishments and win over a 34-time convicted felon who isn't even allowed to operate businesses in the state of New York?" And his entire team is Project 2025. Joe wasn't the problem. Dems were. I know one thing. I will only work for Kamala Harris if it's anyone other than her. Enjoy campaign season. I hope my disenchanted colleagues are able to find some walking shoes and get to work because I will not. So that's what she just put out on Twitter. Jasmine Crockett, U.S. The Democrat representative down there in Texas. So interesting kind of first take on it's. I'm not going to help you out if it ain't Harris. Again, like Frank and I were just talking about moments ago, this could be the wild, wild west. It's a Democratic Party. There's no, real rules here. It's only going to be, what can they broker behind the scenes? What deals can they make? What can they accomplish? Can they come to a consensus? Is it Kamala Harris? Even if they do, even if Pelosi, the Clintons, Obama, Chuck Schumer, George Soros, you put all the people in there that you need, the money people, the decision makers, the ones with experience, the elders of the party, even if they all agree Kamala Harris, what is there to stop somebody from piping up at the convention and saying, no, I think I'm the person. I think I would like to run. I would like to put my name in the hat, especially if they get past that first round of votes. If those delegates, because again, they're not, as we're finding out, legally bound to vote for him, especially since he is now no longer in the race. The campaign link, as we're looking at right here, again, Joe Biden put out the link and attached it to the announcement that he made shortly a little while ago. He put out this letter that we are, putting on the screen here for you. There's the letter where he let everybody know that he was not going to be running for re-election. Again, he dropped this on X, which currently has 72.6 million views at 1:46 p.m. here on July 21st. He followed that up with a message to give his full endorsement to Kamala Harris. Again, saying, quote, that it was his first decision as the party nominee in 2020 to pick Kamala Harris, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. And then shortly after that, he put a link to donate, and that now is all going to Kamala Harris. So the graphic already switched over pretty quickly here. New York City Mayor Eric Adams praises Biden for his contribution and says the country needs strong leadership from a new generation. Trump bashes not fit Biden after dropping out of the race. On a Truth Social post, Donald Trump criticized Joe Biden, saying, quote, crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve, and he never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now look at what he's done to our country, with millions of people coming across our border, totally unchecked and unvetted. Many from prisons, mental institutions, and record numbers of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. Make America great again. Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social. It's interesting. That whole unity thing that Trump was preaching going into the RNC, coming out of the assassination attempt, I think we started to see that crack and fumble a little bit. During his speech, he started out with unity, and then he started going off the cuff, and then it was Donald Trump as usual. And then here we are on Sunday. He's slinging the mud just as much as he ever has. Jay Sabs, are you here to chime in on what's going on?
Okay, did I not say it on the last show that it was coming this weekend? Did I not say it, or did I dream that I told you guys? Because I did hear it from an insider.
Ooh, political insider, Washington insider. What kind of White House?
I'm not allowed to reveal my sources, but I did know it was going to happen. Well, there was rumblings that it was going to happen this weekend, and it really was more than rumblings because I knew it. So I'm not saying I'm the only one who did, but I am still surprised. And I do have to say, I got a little choked up seeing that picture of him.
Which picture is that?
I sent it to the group, but you don't read my messages.
Oh, the one where he's looking down?
Yes, I did. I'm not going to lie to you. I got choked up.
Why did you get choked up?
because he's old, and I have a soft spot in my heart for old, sad men. I also have a soft spot in my vagina for them.
You'd throw him a pity bang right now if you could, wouldn't you?
Honestly, he's catching me at a good time. I would.
You're a true patriot, Jay Sabs. Okay? Don't let anybody ever tell you different.
And I want to say one thing. Okay, so I know, and I meant to say this the other night, or Friday night. I know that Trump wanted to make a more unifying speech. I think with his persona, he couldn't. I don't think. I think that the real MAGA people would have been like, "This is bullshit." You know what I mean? I don't think he could have went that route because that's not him. He might have felt like a little bit more unifying after what happened to him, but I don't think he could have went completely the other way because that's just not him, and that's just not his persona. And there you go. Political correspondent 2024, Jay Sabs.
Love it. Washington
You know what I mean?
Insider.
You get what I'm saying?
I do, but I think if he would have gone a long way to solidify those disenfranchised people in the middle that are looking for somebody to vote for. I think if they would have thought, oh, this guy can be a leader, he can unify no matter what, he's not just a shit talker, he probably would have picked up I think he would have picked up a lot more votes than he would have lost votes from people inside his party, like you were saying.
Yeah. You think he would have picked up more than drop?
Yes, because I'll tell you why. Americans love a sacrifice. Him taking a bullet to the ear was a sacrifice. It was, and America loves that shit. So I think if he would have just leaned into that more, again, I tuned into that speech waiting to see what Donald Trump would do. And an hour and a half later, if I wasn't sleeping, because it was so boring, I would have been disappointed because he couldn't do it. He had to go riff. Because you can tell, right? You can tell when he goes off script and just starts talking.
Yes.
And that's when he said his craziest shit. And it's like a shame because he could have really cashed in at that moment. And I feel like he did good, but not where he could have been. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Same thing with this. Like you just said, and you're as staunch a Republican as I've ever seen.
Yeah, okay.
Even this, like you're out there feeling bad for him. This looks wonderful for him. What a sacrifice. He's putting country above himself.
Well, unless you think it's all part of the plan. That's another story then.
Well, that's another story entirely. But I'm saying he could swing this for more. He could swing if the Democrats are smart. They can swing this as we're the party who puts country over party.
I see what you're saying, but I don't know if people really believe that. As stark as a Democrat as you are.
Independent. Go ahead.
It's just, how do you feel about this news? Like, did you really think he was going to do this or no?
Well, I mean, I'm on the record, and I was shocked to hear post-debate how many people post-debate. Like the guy hadn't even gotten off the stage yet, and the report started.
Yeah. I know. Well, that's why it could be part of the big plan. Okay.
Maybe.
Now, I did not. This is how I found out about the news. I was driving I had another birthday party to go to today, and my friend messaged me, and she goes, "Goodbye, Biden." And I went, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "He's dropping out." And I was like, "Oh my God." Right? So then I'm trying to be nice and talk to the other moms at the party, but in reality, all I want to do is Google what the fuck happened. So I, in fact, just made a. Oh shit! What kind of bug is this? Oh my god! I'm sorry. I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
I think you
I've
need an
never seen.
exterminator in your house.
No, it's a weird looking bug. I'm gonna have to kill it. I'm gonna have to kill it because he is. Where's my disinfecting spray?
Okay, kill the bug. You want to go handle that and come back when you're ready?
No, I'm gonna kill this right now with my spray. You know, my spray trick.
Let's go to some comments while you're dealing with that. Dia says, my husband has the hots for her. Who? Kamala? I will say, Kamala, this would be one of the more sexier runs. Like, Kamala's hot, not for nothing. I mean, you know me. I'm in my MILF phase and have been since the early days of Ant's prowess. Always down for the MILFs. Yeah, Kamala's as MILFy as it gets. Her and who's the other one? Shit, what was her name?
Hold on.
She was kind of a Republican, kind of in Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard for sure. All right, Jason, you unmute when you're ready to come back here because I don't know what's happening over at your thing, but yeah, I would love to get into the issues whoever becomes the nominee next, and then I would also love to compare these candidates by hotness. I would like to have that conversation as well because I feel like it's important. You know, who do you want to bang out of all these people is kind of a big deal when it comes to picking a president, because it's kind of like it's either who do you want to bang or who do you want to have a beer with, right? I mean, that's really a large portion of how we vote in this country. I wish we were better people, but we're not. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
That's how I vote.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of people. That's how a lot of people vote.
That's why I voted for Bush.
Is the bug dead? Are you ready to make your point? Because you were in the middle of making a good point.
Fuck.
You were talking about how you felt bad for him.
Because old men. I do have a spot in my heart for old, sad men. Like, and you know what's funny? And I know this is going to sound creepy. If I see an old sad man out and about in the mall and passing him, I'm going to go out of my way to say hi and how are you and hope you have a great day to him. And I really do that. And most of the time my kids go, Ma, you know that guy? And I went, no. Where do you know him from? He's Papa's age. I'm like, that's my friend. Now shut up. No, my question to you is, will you vote for Kamala? And do you think that she's going to get the nomination?
I don't know. I don't think anybody can tell right now what's going to happen. I think it makes the most sense. I think she's the most logical pick, because if you think you can, you're going with the most experience right now. She's been the VP for the last 4 years. If you think she could win, she can win. If you don't think you can win, she's the logical sacrificial lamb, because if you think it's Gavin Newsom who can win and you want him to go in with his own clear campaign, fresh, and have the time to do it the right way, then she's a great sacrificial lamb. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if anybody, I do think she gives you the best chance to win because she's almost in a no pressure situation. And and like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast here, you've taken all the negativity out of the Biden administration out of the conversation. Now it's no longer about dementia and is he fit. Now you can just say, because everybody's like, oh yeah, he accomplished a lot, but he's batshit crazy. He's not going to make it. You've taken that batshit crazy out of the mix now, and now you can just focus on the accomplishments of what he has done. which he has a decent record. I mean, again, he has some shortcomings, the border, there's a lot of things, but what he's done with prescription drugs, what he's done with infrastructure, he's accomplished a lot in 3.5 years.
Am I talking to Anthony or Frank?
I'm just saying, he's got a decent enough record of accomplishments that you can run on that now, and you don't have the negativity of he's not fit.
I guess so, but for her, what I hear is she hasn't been around at all. Like you never see her.
I agree. She's yeah.
So there you go. You don't know how that's gonna go either. You know what I mean?
And she's going to bring her own negativities to the space. I'm sure people are going to find negative things about her, and she's going to have to contend with that too.
But then, there's people who are just going to vote for her because she's a female. There's people who are going to just vote for her because she's black. And there's people who are going to vote for her just because she's a black female. And then there's going to be people who are going to vote for her just because she's not Donald Trump.
And there's people that are going to vote for her because she's kind of hot.
You think so?
Oh, she's MILF-tastic. She's got, look how good, look at the, here's the picture that Joe Biden put out of the two of them walking together and laughing. Come on, look at the way she's pulling off that pantsuit right now. Give me a fucking break.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, white t-shirt under a blazer.
Oh, yeah.
A-OK for your old pal Aunt. That's a MILF seal of approval right there.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. But we shall see. Sorry, I'm in the middle of making sauce.
Yes. Why don't I let you go? How about you go back to Sunday dinner?
I'm making Sunday sauce like a true American patriot while talking about the presidency. I mean, can you get more American than me?
No, you can't. You can't. We'll debate her hotness on the next episode on Monday, J Sabs. But before I let you go, though, I do want to know, it's early, if she's the gal, you're a woman, right? Does that pull you over a little bit? Because it's like we're in this time now where women's reproductive rights are never been more fragile. A lot of people are having to travel out of state now to get just basic health care for themselves, whether it be an abortion pill or, any kind of thing. This is a big deal with you, right? You lost a baby. You've done all this incredible work on and have exposed, at least you've exposed to me, how people don't really know about the female reproductive system and how to treat it, how to handle it, how to coach it all the way through a pregnancy.
Yeah, you definitely don't know how to handle a woman's reproductive system.
No.
Your wife has told me this many times.
It's very evident. Does having a female in there who can speak to these things a bit more than any of these crusty old white guys can, does that change your outlook and your vote at all?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because, well, first, I would never vote for any woman.
A woman?
I would never vote just because someone is a female. And quite honestly, there's a lot of females out there who don't even know about their own bodies. So I hate to say, because I've experienced it. Like when I went through what I went through, there were women who said things to me that I was like, wait, you don't know that? Like you have that part. So that even shocked me as well. So, but I am pro-choice. So, which Frank can't believe that I am, but I am. I am pro-choice. So it's hard. It's very hard. That's what she said. But no, I'm not voting for a woman just because it's a woman. And there are people, I personally know people who will say, oh, I'm voting for a woman just because I'll vote for her just because she's a female, which to me, that's ridiculous.
Neil, I have to give him a hat tip for this line. Sorry, Aunt, but she's not my MILF. That's funny. No matter how you slice it, not my MILF. Can I tell you why I think you're wrong and you're lying to yourself? Because Frank made the same point before you. I think you don't even realize, but just like I was joking around before, we vote for who we want to bang. We vote for who we want to have a beer with. I think we vote for who we see ourselves in a little bit. And I think that maybe if you don't notice it right away, I think it goes into it. I think it's a bit of a factor. All right, let's put it this way. Let's say Trump turns around and criticizes her for being a woman of inexperience, and he starts to shit on her, and it makes it look like here's an old crusty white guy just attacking a woman. You're not going to feel a little defensive about that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I see. Well, I think Frank thinks that I think that Trump can do no wrong, which is not true. That's a hard question. That is, because he's gonna, you know, he. I mean, he should all over everyone, but that's what the game that they both play, both sides. So I have to go do my sauce.
Go ahead, do your sauce. I appreciate you jumping in.
Oh, you're welcome. See what a team player I am.
The best.
Sabatino, political correspondent 2024.
All right. Our own Washington insider and official sauce maker. Sauce, not gravy. On the AOA podcast, there's Jay Sams right there. There you go. Yeah, I believe this, by the way. I think the female thing is going to become a factor, and I think it's going to be a factor more so than people even realize in themselves, because you are always trying to find yourself in everything. Political candidates, movie characters, TV shows, right? Like you ever watch a show with somebody, and this happens with my wife all the time, friends all the time. You watching a show and you see something, you see conflict between two people, and you go, oh, that person's right. And you say that and you make the point. And then the person on the other side of the room goes, well, no, I think the other person is right and your person's wrong, because they're seeing your own experience. You're seeing yourself in that person, so it's a great spot here from Jay Sabs, because you go, if he starts attacking her, and the woman thing comes up, are you going to be like, man, fuck this guy? He's got to be careful. He has got to be careful, because if you go, oh, she's not experienced and she can't handle it, you can spin that into, what does this guy think? That a woman couldn't do this job? You start to plant that stuff in somebody's mind, that your nationality, your sex, your religion, your whatever that identifying factor is, can't do it. People start to suddenly get, hold on a second. I could, she could do it. I could do, you start to have those moments. You know what I mean? You start to really have those moments. So Trump's got to be careful about how he handles this. It's also a wild card, right? This has been taken. Again, her negatives will come into play, I'm sure. But that guy's batshit crazy and his dementia is running wild. He can't do it. That card has been removed from Trump's repertoire. Now, could he say, something else? Certainly. Of course. That the Democrats are disorganized. Sure. Absolutely. Could be said. But for the time being, he doesn't really have anything to go by as far as the dementia stuff goes now. All right, I'm told that Kamala Harris has released a statement. I want to see if this is on X so I can get this to you. Doesn't appear to be there yet. All right, so Vice President Kamala Harris releases a statement saying, quote, I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. Over the past year, I have traveled across the country talking with Americans about the clear choice in this momentous election, and that is what I will continue to do in the days and weeks ahead. I will do everything in my power to unite. Interesting choice of words from Kamala Harris to end on that word unite, which Donald Trump said he was going to do in the wake of his assassination attempt, and then really just didn't. It's interesting that she chooses those words to come out swinging with first. She puts unite in there. I think that's an interesting turn of phrase to choose there. Let me read that for you again. This is a statement from Vice President Kamala Harris. I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. Over the past year, I have traveled across the country talking with Americans about the clear choice in this momentous election, and that is what I will continue to do in the days and weeks ahead. I will do everything in my power to unite. That coming from Vice President Kamala Harris, just about 3 hours or so after President Joe Biden writes a letter to the American people saying that he will no longer seek re-election in the 2024 campaign. Interesting series and sets of developments here going on this Sunday, July 21st. This certainly has been an interesting day, couple of weeks, and everything else. So she's jumping out to the forefront, as she should. She is the heir apparent as the vice president for the last 4 years to see if she can go up and seal this nomination. Does she have the backing of Pelosi and Schumer? Does she have the backing of the Clintons and the Obamas? Does she have the backing of George Soros and all those big donors who like to send money, which is key and important for a presidential campaign? We shall see over the course of the next couple of days. But right now, she's out front, and she is putting out a statement with a promise to unite. Again, something that Donald Trump maybe failed to do, and that's a criticism, by the way, that's coming in from Republicans as well too. I saw a fair amount of talk from Republican talking heads and from other people in the party where they were a little disappointed at Donald Trump's performance at the convention. I think everybody across the board agrees it was a great convention for the Republicans, but I think there is a sentiment there of, if he didn't just go off script, if he stuck with the unity thing a bit more, if he didn't do 90 minutes of his speech, that could have really been something. Maybe the less is more would have been better for him during that speech, because everybody who spoke before him laid out all those attacks. He didn't really need to go out there and do that, but he did. And he's continued with the attacks today, as we just read you his Truth Social just a few moments ago. He was leaning into the president there and felt like it was unnecessary. Felt like the uniter move to do for Donald Trump would have been, Joe Biden was a valued public servant. Give him credit for all that he has contributed. I believe that it was right that he step aside. I think I'm the better choice for this country, and I want to beat the best that they have to put forward. And that wasn't Joe Biden at this time. I wish him all the best. That's a unity move. People will say, oh, that's Washington speaking bullshit. Maybe, but that's a unifying move. That is what it is. Bernie Sanders on X just an hour ago. Joe Biden has served our country with honor and dignity. As the first president to ever walk on a picket line with striking workers, he has been the most pro-working class president in modern American history. Thank you, Mr. President, for all that you have done. Again, we're just kind of going around and catching some of the reaction here to the big news of President Joe Biden writing a letter to the country saying that he will not seek re-election in the 2024 presidential race. Let's see here. Milwaukee Congresswoman Gwen Moore thanked Joe Biden for his presidency following the big announcement today. Hang on, I'm sorry. All this stuff is kind of coming in pretty quickly. And has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. So interesting that we're starting to see some of the Democrats out there put their weight behind Kamala Harris. We mentioned the representative from Texas not that long ago said that she's going to back Harris and nobody else. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker praised President Joe Biden. Again, Pritzker was one of the people considered to be in the mix to run as a presidential candidate here. He put on Twitter, President Joe Biden has dedicated his life in service to this nation and its citizens and are all better for it. His is a storied political career culminating in one of the most accomplished and effective presidencies of our lifetime. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear thanks Biden for service, calls for nation to come together, put a whole statement together saying President Biden will be remembered as a consequential president. Along with Vice President Harris, he led us through the aftermath of January 6th on our Capitol and steadily steered us out of a global pandemic. He showed up for Kentucky after devastating tornadoes and historic flooding, delivering immediate federal aid that is helping to rebuild our communities. His leadership provided infrastructure investments that are all bringing clean drinking water and high-speed internet to parts of Kentucky that for far too long have been overlooked and underserved. President Biden came through on the Brent Spence Companion Bridge project, getting bipartisan funding for a project that had been stalled for years and is a major thoroughfare for national commerce. While his decision today could not have been easy, it is in the best interest of our country and our party. I want to thank him for his leadership, kindness, and for a successful presidency that got big, important things done. Now it is time for our nation to come together. We need to dial down the anger, rancor, and noise. We have an opportunity to remember that we are all taught, excuse me. We have to remember that we are all taught to treat our neighbors as ourselves and that we are all each other's neighbors. Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles, two top-tier advisors to the Trump campaign, welcomed the news of President Biden dropping out of the race. In a joint statement, they said, "Crooked Joe Biden is a complete fraud and a disgrace to our country. We are going to win this election on November 5th and save our country, and then, only then, after we win, we can make America great again." They have both called Vice President Kamala Harris as much of a joke as Joe Biden is. The question then to Kamala Harris is simple. Knowing that Joe Biden withdrew from the campaign because of his rapidly deteriorating condition, does Harris believe the people of America are safe and secure with Joe Biden in the White House for 6 more months? I read you part of Kamala Harris's statement before. Here's the full statement from Vice President Kamala Harris. On behalf of the American people, I thank Joe Biden for his extraordinary leadership of the United States and for his decades of service to our country. His remarkable legacy of accomplishments is unmatched in modern American history, surpassing the legacy of many presidents who have served 2 terms in office. It is a profound honor to serve as his vice president, and I am deeply grateful to the president, Dr. Biden, and the entire Biden family. I first came to know Joe Biden through his son, Beau. We were friends from our days working together as attorneys general of our home states. As we worked together, Beau would tell me stories about his dad, the kind of father and the kind of man he was. And the qualities Beau revered in his father are the same qualities, the same values I have seen every single day in Joe's leadership as president. His honesty and integrity, his big heart and commitment to his faith and his family, and his love of our country and the American people. With his selfless and patriotic act, President Biden is doing what he has done throughout his life of service, putting the American people and our country above everything else. I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. Over the past year, I've traveled across the country, talking with Americans about the clear choice in this momentous election, and that is what I will continue to do in the days and weeks ahead. I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump and his extreme Project 2025 agenda. We have 107 days until Election Day. Together we will fight, and together we will win. So that's the statement from Vice President Kamala Harris. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, put out a statement on X saying, "At this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before the election, having invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who selected Joe Biden." Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. Got a little reload over here, because I had to get the see more option on this X tweet that just came out from the Speaker of the House. Having invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who selected Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee for president, the self-proclaimed party of democracy has proven exactly the opposite. The party's prospects are no better now with Vice President Kamala Harris, who co-owns the disastrous policy failures of the Biden administration. As second in command and a completely inept border czar, Harris has been a gleeful accomplice not only in the destruction of America's sovereignty, security, and prosperity, but also in the largest political cover-up in U.S. history. She has known for as long as anyone of his incapacity to serve. Regardless of the chaos in the current White House, our adversaries around the globe should be reminded that the U.S. Congress, the U.S. military, and the American people are fully prepared and committed to defend our interests both at home and abroad. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to serve as president. He must resign the office immediately. November 5th cannot arrive soon enough. Interesting to see that the Speaker of the House is saying something that Frank and I were opining about just moments ago. If he can't run for re-election, can he continue to be the president? Does it behoove Vice President Kamala Harris to step in after a resignation and become president, the first female president ever to run for re-election? Is that the move here? Yes, this was a big sacrifice for Joe Biden. Yes, he's putting party and country over himself, but is he going to be asked to do that again? Is it a bigger deal if Kamala Harris becomes the president of the United States prior to the election than if she is just running as the vice president and the leader on the ticket? These are all questions that we can only answer at the election, at the time. We'll just have to wait and see. There was a rumor out there that former President Barack Obama was endorsing Kamala Harris. That has not been confirmed. Obama put out a statement saying, all right, let me see here. Apologies, because this is all coming in on the fly right now. So might have to take a second here to just bring you all this coverage. But I hope you appreciate the way in which we're doing this, which is not that what you're going to get on any sort of right or left leaning podcast or mainstream media like MSNBC or Fox News. They're all going to deliver it to you with a little tinge of their own thoughts on it and their own party's interests on it. You're not going to get that here. You're going to get, here's what's happening, especially in this moment, and perhaps a little joke or two if we could sneak it in. Former President Barack Obama didn't endorse Kamala Harris, saying Democrats would pick an unnamed outstanding nominee in his first statement after President Biden stepped down. Obama said, quote, we will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. Some Democrats fear Harris could further diminish the party's chances against former President Donald Trump on the November 5th election. Obama said, quote, I believe that Joe Biden's vision of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the Democratic Convention in August, and I expect that every single one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress forward into November and beyond. For now, Michelle and I just want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably and courageously during these perilous times, and for their commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality that this country was founded on. Interesting choice of words there from Barack Obama. I do wish, though, that he would understand as he says things like the leaders of our party, that he would acknowledge a bit more that he is a leader. I know he wants to step aside and not be a kingmaker and let everybody sort of, have their say in these moments. But the fact of the matter is he's the last successful Democratic candidate, Democratic president. Whether you want to put Joe Biden in that category or not is up to you, but his term is not yet done. So I'm saying start to finish, you could look back on the Obama presidency as the last successful Democratic one, and that carries a lot of weight with it. That means something. That's an important That's an important thing. And I think he downplays himself a bit much at times. I'm putting in the live chat the link to the full statement that President Obama, that I just read from the Obama statement here, as he put that out on Medium, because that's a big boy statement. There's a lot to come to terms with there. There it is on the screen there. 3-minute read just now. Former President Barack Obama releasing this statement that I just read from you. It's a little bit more in depth. I gave you the juice of it. There's no endorsement of Kamala Harris, which I don't deny. But what I don't like about the statement, though, is this whole, the leaders of our party. But that's you, guy. That's you. You're part of that process. You're one of the leaders of the party, Perhaps he wants to stay background here and not be so public about his endorsements. Lots of reports coming in that Biden and Harris have been talking multiple times a day, have spoke multiple times today about this decision and this groundbreaking move here. Again, if you've been living under a rock, President Biden saying that he's not going to seek re-election after saying for the longest time that he was. We're just going through some of the reaction. I read for you the reaction from the Speaker of the House. We read Kamala Harris's statements from the senior Trump senior campaign officials, I should say. Read you a statement from Governor Andy Beshear. Let me see here. Marjorie Taylor Greene says President Trump has never just been running against Joe Biden. He's been running against the destruction of America brought by Democrats and their policies. What a shocker there from her. Pro-Trump Super PAC MAGA Inc. to air anti-Harris ad in swing states. That's coming up quick. See, this is a great point here, that the Democrats need to get their act together quickly, because the attacks are going to start. And if Harris is the person, and so far we've seen some Democrat representatives, we've seen, some other Democrats saying that. Obviously, Joe Biden has endorsed her right off the bat. If she's the person, they only have 107 days. You got to let her be the person. You got to get her out there and get the ball rolling, Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Democrats trying to upend the expressed will of the people. Okay, so it seems early on like this is the talking point for the Republicans, that they're throwing aside the 14 million votes he received to get the nomination. That seems to be the big talking point for the Republicans. Can't fault them on that. They have to, they have to have a plan of attack, and it seems like that's the one. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffrey is grateful to Joe Biden after he drops out. His statement saying, let me see here. We are forever grateful for his service. America is a better place today because President Joe Biden has led us with intellect, grace, and dignity. Jeffries described the president as, quote, one of the most accomplished and consequential leaders in American history. Again, so I know there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and maybe you love Biden or hate him or whatever it is. And obviously, the current president's going to be criticized no matter what. I do think, although it's been a sad couple of weeks here for the country, seeing their president deteriorate right before their very eyes, I do think this, for Biden's legacy, is a great move. I think when you go back and you read about this in the history books, the conversation will be, he came in after the pandemic. He came in after January 6th. He calmed everything down. The pandemic ended under his watch. Although it was messy and sloppy and full of criticism that's valid, he got us out of Afghanistan. He brought the infrastructure bill. He lowered prescription drug costs. He did a whole bunch of things. And then he did the most selfless thing, and he stepped aside and let somebody else run when he was no longer fit to. I think that's an amazing legacy that you can leave behind, that I don't expect anybody to give him credit for today. But again, when scholars look back on this 10, 15, 20 years from now, when it's being taught in classrooms, it will be taught as he did something that is a rarity, and that is to not seek re-election, to put party and country over himself. He gave up power, and I think that will be looked back as a momentous moment for his legacy. I don't care who you are. The peaceful transfer of power is vital to our constitutional republic. And whenever anybody relinquishes power for the betterment of the country and our people, that is a solid move no matter what. Don't care who you are. Don't care if you hate Democrats. Don't care if you hate Joe Biden. Don't care if you think the worst things about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden. A lot of those things are valid. If you watch a person turn his back on power and put country over their own interest, that is a big deal. It started with George Washington. He could have been president for the rest of his life. He goes 2 terms, steps aside and says, let somebody else run the country now. And we get John Adams after George Washington. That peaceful transfer of power was one of the most important things that George Washington ever did. And he did a lot of important things. For Joe Biden to say, I'm not going to seek re-election, I'm going to give up my power for the betterment of the Democratic Party, for the betterment of the people of the United States of America, that is something that is admirable. And no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, you need to recognize that. Again, I don't expect people to do it today, but I think years from now, when everything cools down from this particular presidency, it'll be looked upon as a big moment and a proud American moment. Now, is there room here for, well, you know, can he run the country for the next 6 months? He should seek all that credit. It's fair to have that criticism now. Do I expect Mike Johnson or President Trump to handle this any differently? Of course not. Especially Mike Johnson. He took the right approach. He wants to question that. But I would caution him to be careful, because if they are going to force Joe Biden out, you're going to get President Kamala Harris. Does that strengthen her ability? And again, you don't know what lies ahead. Because let's play out some scenarios here. And I used this example before. Let's say there was a big hurricane and FEMA has to get involved, right? We're going into hurricane season now, August, September. And now it's President Kamala Harris, the first female minority president in the history of our country. And she goes down there and everything runs smoothly and she looks presidential and she's kicking ass and, you know, aid is getting out there. People are being rescued, all this jazz. Maybe it's not a hurricane. Maybe it's a tornado. Maybe, God forbid, it's a conflict or a war of some sort. Maybe it's a prisoner exchange. Whatever it is, you put Kamala Harris in the presidency today, tomorrow, next week. You get Joe Biden, you use Article 25 and you get Joe Biden out and President Kamala Harris, and then she does something to up her stock, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So if I was Mike Johnson, I would calm down with that rhetoric right away. Right away. Because if, again, she gets the opportunity to jump into the Oval Office and then gets to do some super presidential shit where she looks great, that could wind up costing you. You know what I mean? That could be worse in the long run, I feel. You got to be careful with that. But I think as we move through the next week, this whole conversation of is he even fit to finish the next 6 months is going to become part of the conversation, the bigger conversation. And if you're sitting there, and let's assume, for argument's sake, it is Kamala Harris who does wind up securing the nomination going into the convention. Let's say she gets it beforehand. Let's say this party unites in a miraculous moment. The Democrats figure it out in a week, and she's the person by the time President Biden addresses the nation. Does the conversation shift inside the Democratic Party to, well, do we need him to finish the next 6 months? Joe, you made an incredible sacrifice by stepping aside and letting somebody else take over the reins. And we need you to do it again. You know, I mean, think about the weight of that. Joe, you have the opportunity to put the first female minority president in the Oval Office. Can you do it? Can you sacrifice? Can you put country over yourself again? Does it strengthen us? Do we feel like, again, going into the last 6 months, you know, whatever, like I said, a hurricane, a tornado, the Ukraine, the problem in the Middle East, it could be anything. Does that give her a better chance at winning? I mean, flip that coin. It also gives her a better chance at bumbling it and it not going well. And it looks worse for her. You know, I criticize Mike Johnson, but to the point, if there is something that happens and she is in the Oval Office and it doesn't go well, then you're basically handing the White House over to Donald Trump. Donald Trump Jr. on X just moments ago. Kamala Harris owns the entire left-wing policy record of Joe Biden. The only difference is that she's even more liberal and less competent than Joe, which is really saying something. She was put in charge of the border, and we saw the worst invasion of illegals in our history. That will, of course, become a huge talking point. Kamala's czar of the southern border and how poorly that's all going. Former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and big time fundraiser for the Democrats, puts out a statement on X here saying President Joe Biden is a patriotic American. Let me see if I can get this on the old screener-ooski for you guys. As we're reading this all together, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi putting out this statement. Let's get it up on the big screen for you here. There's the Pelosi little Golden Gate Bridge in the background there. Here's her statement, of course. President Joe Biden is a patriotic American who has always put our country first. His legacy of vision, values, and leadership make him one of the most consequential presidents in American history. With love and gratitude to President Biden for always believing in the promise of America and giving people the opportunity to reach their fulfillment. God bless America with Joe Biden's greatness and goodness. You know, it's funny, the interactions with her over the last couple of days, too, was really interesting. It seemed like she was cool, calm, and collected. Like that whole, you know, he's like, well, whatever Joe Biden decides. And they're like, well, he's running. And then they went back to Joe, like, Joe, are you running? And Joe's like, I'm running. And then she's like, yeah, no, I get it. No, but, you know, give him some time to figure it. Like, she was cool and calm with, we can't let this guy go. You know, and we know for sure that she and Chuck Schumer together approached him to step out of the race. So clearly she was behind a lot of the decision that came out today. Because as Frank and I were discussing at the beginning of this podcast, he couldn't overcome this. You know, it had become too much of a distraction. You know, what could he have done to reverse this? And the answer right now is probably nothing. You know, the damage was done. Now, whether or not they let him go through it, whether or not that was the whole reason why we had the earliest debate we've ever had in a presidential campaign, I don't really know. I mean, you can certainly make the argument that this is all part of the plan, as J Sabs was saying, half kidding and half seriously. We're going to find out about all of that stuff, you know, in the coming weeks and months. The Clintons have put out a statement thanking Biden for his service, and they have endorsed Harris for president. So former President Barack Obama, not quite yet willing to go there, but the Clintons supposedly have endorsed Kamala Harris to be the party's nominee. Democratic National Committee Chair, I'm going to look for that statement as we get you this one too here. Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison said that the party will reveal more about the next steps and a path forward in the near future. The work that we must do now, while unprecedented, is clear, Harrison said in a statement. In the coming days, the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward as a united Democratic Party with a candidate who can defeat Donald Trump in November. This process will be governed by established rules and procedures of the party. Our delegates are prepared to take seriously their responsibility in swiftly delivering a candidate to the American people. A+ statement from Jamie Harris here. We're going to do it transparently. We're going to move quickly. We're going to defeat Donald Trump. Jamie saying all the right things right there. That's what you got to say. That's what you got to have. You got to have swift movement. I mean, I would think that before this announcement came, they had time to make this all work. Does she have it locked up right now? Vice President Harris. Is this just part of the process? Is Joe Biden's endorsement step one of 10 other steps where they've already got this organized behind the scenes and it's hers? Part of me thinks, of course, Aunt. Part of me also thinks probably not. Probably not. They've been probably working so hard to get him out that you don't really have much time for second steps because you've got so much focus on, getting him to move in the first place, Supposedly on CNN, Van Jones was crying, saying this is like taking away grandpa's keys. Again, I'm here with you guys. I'm not watching media, but this is a report coming out that he's choking back tears on CNN, saying people are heartbroken, even people who are pushing for this to happen. It's kind of like when you're grandpa, you got to take his keys and he's fighting, and everybody is frustrated. And then you finally get the keys back and you just cry. Yeah, we've all seen that, right? I think that's happened to most people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. calls on Democrats to have an open process to replace Biden. On a post to X saying, I commend President Biden for stepping down. His infirmities were evident to any unbiased observer from the beginning. Again, I don't know. This is Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK. We'll see if we can get his statement on the old Twitter screens here for you guys. But we do know that Robert Kennedy Jr. was just in a phone call with former President Donald Trump, talking about getting him involved in the administration in some way, shape, or form. So here you go. Here's the statement from Robert Kennedy Jr. I commend President Biden for stepping down. His infirmities were evident to any unbiased observer from the beginning. It was this progressive deterioration and his abandonment of the Democratic Party principles that prompted me to enter the race and ensure American voters had a viable, vigorous alternative to Donald Trump. Yet the response of the DNC was to try and hide President Biden's degeneration from the American public and disable democracy to ram him through to his party's nomination. Many Americans fear the same DNC elites are about to rig the nomination process again to get monumentally unpopular vice president to step into President Biden's shoes. I call on the Democratic Party to return to its traditional commitment to democracy and exemplify it with an open process. Instead of anointing a candidate handpicked by the DNC elites, the party should use neutral polling to identify the candidate who can best beat Donald Trump. The delegates should then select a nominee based on this information. If they had done this to begin with, I would not have to leave. I would have not had to leave the Democratic Party. Boy, is that ever a statement on, hey, pick me, pick me. Pick me, I should do this. A lot of people still loving Robert Kennedy, but I apologize. I can't really get behind him whatsoever since I found out that he was on the Epstein plane several times and pretended like it didn't happen. And then also had the brainworm thing. And then there was one other thing in there. Oh, yeah. He sexually assaulted somebody and then got mad at a reporter for bringing that up to him, saying that he wasn't going to comment on stuff that happened 30 years ago, but admitted that he had a crazy beginning of his life. I don't think Robert Kennedy is good for anybody. And I know people that are upset with both parties love him. I would love to back an independent candidate too. He is just not the guy. I'm sorry. I apologize. And I don't believe he belongs in any of the future administrations either. I just don't think he's stable enough to be a leader. And I think he's made a lot of mistakes in his past, too much so to overcome. Let's see here. We're working on that that Clinton endorsement. Supposedly they have endorsed Kamala Harris. So I'm looking for that statement that we can share with you guys right now. I don't know if that would have come from Hillary or Bill. There's several places that could appear from. It looks like they put out a joint statement here. All right, so let's pop this up for everybody. This is from the Clintons. President Biden has capped his extraordinary career of service with a presidency that has lifted America out of the unprecedented pandemic, created millions of new jobs, rebuilt a battered economy, strengthened our democracy, and restored our standing in the world. By any measure, he has advanced our founders' charge to build a more perfect union and his own stated goal of restoring the soul of our nation. We join millions of Americans in thanking President Biden for all he has accomplished, standing up for America time and again, with his North Star always being what's best for the country. We are honored to join the president in endorsing Vice President Harris, and we'll do whatever we can to support her. Best thing I think you could do is stay the fuck away, you creeper. Sorry. It's just all those trips on the Epstein plane. Again, we've lived through many ups and downs, but nothing has made us more worried for our country than the threat posed by a second Trump term. He has promised to be a dictator on day one, and the recent ruling by his servile Supreme Court, nice statement, servile, very good, will only embolden him to further shred the Constitution. Now is the time to support Kamala Harris and fight with everything we've got to elect her. America's future depends on it. So there you go. That's a statement from former President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. Joint statement put out just about an hour ago, once again endorsing Kamala Harris. So current president Joe Biden, former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, all jumping on the Kamala Harris train right out of the gate here. Barack Obama not endorsing her just yet, which again I find is interesting. Now is the kind of time to kind of jump up aboard and start doing those things. And we just read you the statement from Robert Kennedy Jr., just basically asking for an open and transparent process. Continuing to just read some reactions for you guys here. Let's see here. Ben Wilkler, the chairman of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, just put out a statement as well. Wisconsin, one of those swing states up for grabs, possibly. It's in the Trump column right now. Says, quote, if Joe Biden is incapable of the rigors of running for re-election, then he cannot be trusted to fulfill the duties of his office. It's unbelievable. We just said this, and we're seeing it start to play out as we are on the air here. It's unbelievable. I said this at the start of this podcast. I reiterated it just a few moments ago, and we're seeing it again play out here. Again, this is not a call from Republicans. We're talking about Ben Wickler, who is the chairman of the Democratic Party in the White House, saying this. And here, let me bring this up for you guys. Put it up on the screen for you there. Let's make it a little bigger for everybody to see. President Biden will be remembered by history as one of our nation's greatest presidents, a transformational leader who dedicated a lifetime of service to our country. It has been an honor for all of us, blah, blah, blah. With razor-thin majorities in the House and the Senate, President Biden accomplished what other leaders dreamed of. He secured, Joe Biden Joe Biden met the moment at a time of urgent need, blah, 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 blah. Let me see here. Okay, so this is the statement he put out on X. And then he also did an interview. This is where I'm getting this quote from. If Joe Biden is incapable of the rigors of running for election, then he cannot be trusted to fulfill his duties of his office. Everyone from Vice President Harris, Tammy Baldwin, and the Democrat establishment bears responsibility for enabling the vanity and self-delusion of the Bidens. He did not endorse Vice President Harris, but did admit to this. And again, this is not part of this statement, but this did come from Ben Wickler and is being reported by several outlets. Having already denied voters the chance to replace Joe Biden during the primaries, the Democrat Party is now subjecting the American people to chaos, uncertainty, and an incapacitated presidency. He put out in a separate statement that is not on Twitter. That's interesting. So that's his statement on Twitter, though. So a little interesting that he goes one way on Twitter and then puts out a separate statement elsewhere. Nevada GOP chair says, quote, sad day for the nation as Joe Biden drops out. Interesting that the GOP is stating this stuff. Nevada Republican Party Chairman Michael J. McDonald told the Post in a telephone interview, I think everybody saw it except the Democrats that we had a strong decline in President Biden. I hope he does get better. I wish his family well. He said that regardless of who the Democrats put up as their nominee, we run on policy and on what they've done over the last 4 years. He said Vice President Kamala Harris, should she secure the top spot, as well as the down ballot Democrat candidates, will have to defend what is happening in America. Everyone is worse off now than they were when President Trump was in office. Harris, he claimed, is very loose on her policy and offers a complete lie about the Project 2025 document Democrats claim is a clandestine playbook for the second Trump presidency. I mean, the Project 2025 thing, we've talked about this on this podcast. It's just, it's a clear playbook. People that were in Trump's first administration were key in helping write it. People who Trump knows were involved in it, so I just think that they're trying to separate themselves for it. Trump is trying to separate himself for it because he sees what a failure that is. It's not going to help him with the people that are in the middle move over to his side. Nobody wants to see more restrictions on female health care. I don't think anybody wants to see this whole moving too much to one side. So they're obviously separating themselves from that sort of thing. But I don't know. President Trump in the past has been very eager to give people what they want if they say nice things about him. And those people are saying awfully nice things about him. And so I think you have to be concerned if you're not that much if you're a Republican who's not the crazy conservatives, you got to be concerned. And if you're on the left or in the middle or an independent, I think it's worthy of looking into from yourself for sure. It's definitely worthy of some concern. Let me see here if we've got anything new. Not really. Governor Kristi Noem calls Biden withdrawal the right decision. That's the South Dakota governor. That's the one who killed her puppy. So nobody really likes her all that much. And we talked about the whole Robert F. Kennedy thing. So I think we've covered as much as we can. Wow, 2 hours and 22 minutes we've been on for. That's a pretty long time. Christopher King says, Big Mike Obama for Prez. LOL. Again, I don't think we're getting Michelle Obama. And I get the joke. I like jokes, but I never got that whole Michelle Obama is a guy and it's going to be president thing. That's just right-wing craziness. I appreciate it as a joke, but that's not a real thing. Hello, AOA holes and potential new members, and to all the new folks, also keep in mind chat's where it's at. Yes, the live chat here on YouTube is always wonderful. Make sure if you guys are watching on Facebook or you're watching later on Spotify, join us on the live for YouTube. It's always a great place to be. And of course, you could become a member here of the pod for as low as $2.99. You get some behind the scenes stuff, some exclusive content. You get some shit before we put it out before everybody else. Giveaways, prizes, all those kinds of things. We run through our members only area, which you could join. The link is in the description for this episode, no matter where you're watching or listening from. Always appreciate our members. Again, like I said, for as low as $2.99 a month, you can go ahead and support us for what we do here on the podcast. Click the link below. Join up for $2.99. Make sure you're a part of it because, like I said, I'm biased here. I love what we do because I feel like we're not biased. Frankie C has his beliefs. He obviously leans Democratic. I'm an independent. Try and give you the information as clean cut as we can. Let you make your own choices and decisions. J-Sab's down the same line. Perhaps she leans a little bit more right. Perhaps Frankie C leans a little bit more left. I feel like I can go back and forth depending on whatever the issue is. But at least, we don't have any sort of interest in mind, unlike Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, where they're trying to pull people in their direction. We just want to have a conversation with you. So, you're going to hear opinions for sure. But you're also going to get facts. And as we always say, our whole goal here is to entertain and inform, and in that order. We want to make you laugh a little bit, give you a little bit of information. That's really what we're out for. End of the day, that's what we want. I don't give a shit who you vote for. Frank feels differently. Maybe Janine feels differently. I don't want to speak for them. But I don't give a flying fuck who you vote for. I just want you to have the conversation with us. Because I feel like the more informed we all are about everything that's happening, the better off we are when we do go into those ballot boxes. But who you write down on that day, again, I'm not here to change your mind on anything. I'm just here to give you the information. You do what you will with it. That's always how I'm going to feel. And that's a strong principle that we run our podcast on. And also jokes. It's important to make jokes. That's why it's like I put Christopher's comment on the screen. Do I think Michelle Obama has a penis and is going to be the next president? No to either of those things. But I recognize a joke, and we could play along with those sorts of stuff, Dia says Michelle doesn't want to run. Well, that's always been my thing with Michelle Obama. This whole theory that she's going to come around and run, I could never buy into it because she hated being in the White House. She made a sacrifice because it was his dream, and I thought she was a phenomenal first lady. Did all the stuff, the health stuff, the decorating during Christmas time, did a great job with all of it. No problem with any of it. But there was no secret that she was never keen on being in the public's eye. And especially towards the end, everybody knew she wanted out of this shit. So for her to jump back in as the president never made any sense to me, Dia. Wonderful point. Way to go. Mark says, didn't think this was how I would spend my Sunday, but thanks, Ant. Great show, great coverage. Appreciate that, Mark, so much. Again, I know this isn't how I thought I was going to do my Sunday. I'm in a bathing suit right now. Look at the bathing suit. I was literally about to jump in the pool when this broke and ran back up to the studio to come on with you guys. So I do appreciate that. And if you like the coverage, hit the share button, share it on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on your Instagram stories, wherever you can put it. Plunk down a share for us if you're grateful and you're appreciative like Mark here, because that's how you can pay us back. That's the best way to do it. That, and again, by joining our members only area, where there's a link in the description below. We don't expect that from you. We're grateful for it. Like I said, we got plans from $2.99. There's a middle one, and then there's a $19.99 a month. We got a lot of 19.99ers out there, and they really help us go a long way. Mark says more leg, Ant. Members only get more leg, buddy. That's my promise. I'll throw you a full outfit check in the members only area. I don't like to focus on my body because there's not a lot there to focus on. But I'll show some more leg in the members only area today since we're having some fun here. Chris says, thanks for the good show. Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you guys so much. Let me see here. Raven has agreed with Paul. I got to figure out what she's agreeing on. Last thing I got from Paul here is history for AOA. I always look to see what Paul had. Oh, 63. Let me see here. 63 real billionaires are backing Trump. They want an oligarchy. Well, what's interesting about that is the amount of, and Elon tweeted about this just not too long ago, the amount of this storyline of rich people, but Silicon Valley coming over and supporting Donald Trump. That's a real big conversation lately. Like Elon is pushing that big time. Like Silicon Valley leaders, Like, hey, Silicon Valley, always progressive, always Democrat, and now they're leaning towards Donald Trump. They're tired of this. They're tired of that. They're tired of deep state. They're tired of bullshit and all this kind of stuff. Well, as true as that may be, I also think at the same time we are seeing, and credit Pete Buttigieg because he did say this on Bill Maher on Friday, which Bill Maher had a great episode. I encourage you all to watch that. That these are all rich people. At the end of the day, are the Silicon Valley people the more progressive part of the business community? Yes, no doubt about it. But also at the end of the day, they are business people who are out for business, and business, people tend to move towards Republicans for the simple fact that deregulation and tax cuts. So that's traditionally been there, and that's not going anywhere. Are they pulling out more Silicon Valley people? Yes. Is it that big of a surprise? It really shouldn't be, because again, these are big business people. I mean, no matter if there's a Democrat or a Republican in the White House, all of them always meet with the biggest business owners in the country. I mean, if you remember, Tim Cook caught a lot of shit for going to the White House to meet with Donald Trump. There was a few people in that mix who got a lot of flack for doing that, but it's like, that's what they all do. And if you're the president, again, no matter what party you're in, you want to gather the biggest business owners in your country, and you want to meet with them and know, what can I do to keep your businesses going? Again, there's nothing wrong with big business. Democrats get a lot of shit for this, that they want to break, they're not for business. They're not for business. They're not for business. You need big business. You need big business to pay their fair share of taxes. I don't disagree with that, but you need big business in this country. There's nothing wrong with big corporations. Do we all wish they paid more taxes? Yeah, we all should wish that. But at the same time, you need successful, large-scale businesses in any country to have a successful country. It impacts GDP. It keeps you above the rest of the world. Let's not forget this, and we often do because we're so busy to fight between the parties, that we're also competing with everybody else. Not just China and Russia and the countries that we don't necessarily agree with on ideology, but Spain, Italy, England, like you name it. Like we're competing, India, we're competing Saudi Arabia, we're competing with other countries. You want to be innovative. You want to have a strong economy. That requires good business. That means that when a new president comes in, no matter what party they're from, businesses should be a part of their administration. You want to talk to them about what is going on and what they need. And if you could find an instance where what a business wants aligns with what you've campaigned with, also aligns with what's good for the people, then you go ahead and you make that happen, But undeniably, no doubt about it, there should be a little bit more careful. There should be more concentration on them paying their fair share. And I say that not as a liberal or as a Democrat. I say that as somebody who economically studying where our country is at now versus where we were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s with a much stronger economy. The distribution of wealth was better then, and you had a better economy. There's no surprise there. Then when you get into the 70s, late 70s, into the 80s, and you start to see that disparage of wealth go up to the 1%, and now all of a sudden the economy slows. This is not politics. This is just basic common sense. If money's moving around a lot, good economy. If money is stuck up here with people who are just constantly trying to get more and more and more, and they can't even start enough businesses to pay people to move that money around, once that money stops moving and it's just there, not good for economy. It's that simple. It's really, really that simple. And again, I look forward to the Republican that's going to come out one day and say, we've done great business-wise. You want to reignite this economy. then not only should you be paying taxes, but you should be putting your money into doing things that is going to help the economy. Because when you look at the billionaires, Gates and Elon and all these people, you know, it's like they're sitting on billions and billions of dollars. If they could start 5 businesses a day for the next 100 days, they still wouldn't have spent that money enough to help move and spur the economy. You know, it's just that simple. It's like having pistons in a car and you're only delivering oil to one piston. That doesn't bode well for your engine. It's got to be equally spread out, and not socialist 100% equally, but enough to get the ball rolling, to keep the money moving. That's all you have to do, is keep money moving. But people worry about short-term profit calls and, CEO bonuses and a lot of short-term thinking that does not lead to long-term economic success. You know, people judge things by the stock market and their 401k. And I get it, because I look at my 401k too. But sometimes a sacrifice in stock market and a move that's not so popular with a 401k is better, because you're doing something that is for the long-term economic growth. But if you look at a lot of businesses, a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, they no longer make decisions based on, this is going to be great for us 6 years from now. This is going to be wonderful for our employees. This is going to be phenomenal for our customers. They just think, this is going to be good for our stock price. This is going to be good for our, revenue call. And a lot of the times that doesn't lead to long-term growth that you need in an economy. So that's the things that I think we're facing. And again, I'm looking forward to the first Republican who can say, yeah, we want deregulation. Yes, we want tax cuts. But yeah, you know what we also need is some financial responsibility to start spreading our immense wealth around. Yes, you should strive to make $1 quadrillion. But at the same time, a company that can pay its employees really well, better than other companies, to attract the best talent and have that best talent work for them at an unbelievable rate to try and blow out their competition, you don't hear that conversation happen anymore. Credit the Arizona iced tea guy. He's the only one to be like, could we be making more money? Yeah. Could we cut corners and do this or that? Yeah. He goes, but we're a healthy company. We pay our employees really well. Will my product be 99 cents for as long as I could possibly keep it there? Could I charge more? Yeah. You go into any convenience store right now, Snapple and whatever other iced tea is out there is $3.99, $2.49. Arizona iced tea is still 99 cents. They talked to him. He did a big thing the other day. Well, could you raise the price on this? I could. Why should I? We're making money. We're profitable. You do not hear companies talking like that anymore. And you look at that and you go, here's a guy who is probably for the next 30 years going to have a wonderful company. Again, I don't know what it's like to work for the Arizona Iced Tea Company, but I'm sure it's pretty good. And you have other companies out there going, oh, well, I'm the CEO. I make choices. If I can raise revenues and increase my stock prices, that's more of a bonus that I'll get. And so they put things in place in their own company that aren't good for long-term growth, but it's great for their gain. They can go back to shareholders and go, look at how much your profits are going up. Look at how much your stock options are going up. Isn't that great? And everybody goes, yeah, it's great. And it's all short-term thinking. And then what happens? Fucking companies go out of business and all people get laid off. The short-term thinking has got to stop. Anyway, I digress. 2 hours and 38 minutes. I think we're going to leave it there. I appreciate you guys spending a Sunday with me. Thank you so much for the shares. Thank you so much for the people who have signed up for memberships during this episode. We're back at this live tomorrow, Monday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. another live podcast here on Facebook and YouTube. You could watch the replay, of course, on Spotify. We were one of the first podcasts that you could actually watch on Spotify after Joe Rogan. Very, very proud of that fact. Lots probably going to happen in the next 24 hours with the bombshell announcement of President Biden not seeking re-election here. Will we have a consensus by the next show? Who knows? Will we not? Will this go on? It will be an interesting week of podcasts, and you can count on us to deliver you all the accurate information and throw in a couple of jokes. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following. As we go, VP candidate J.D. Vance just put out a statement on X, so we'll share that with you before we exit here. Certainly, J.D., again, he's the spotlight right now. Lots of people want to know what he has to say. I mean, for instance, President Donald Trump hasn't really said much in the way of new items, right? So it's it's vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, who everybody is going to be interested to see what he discusses and what he says and how he goes about things. So let's bring up his statement on the big screen here so you guys can take a look, see on what he had to say. Joe Biden has been the worst president in my lifetime, and Kamala Harris has been right there with him every step of the way. Over the last 4 years, she co-signed Biden's open border and green scam policies that drove up the cost of housing and groceries. She owns all of these failures, and she lied for nearly 4 years about Biden's mental capacity, saddling the nation with a president who can't do the job. President Trump and I are ready to save America. Who's ever at the top of the Democrats' ticket, bring it on. Bold move from J.D. Vance. Bold move. You can't fault him from attacking right from the get, right? I mean, what else are they supposed to do? Again, I'd love for some people to take the high road, but that's okay. That's all right if they don't. You know, he's choosing to go about it this way. And I guess this will be their approach too. It's dependent on her that she's been hiding his incompetence is an interesting take for sure. It's a real interesting take. All right, that's it. I know there's a vibrant chat going on here. I hate to call it a quits, but we're going to have to wrap it up. By the way, we also do have a Discord, so you can join the Discord. Link in the description below for us there as well. We've got a continued conversation going on there. Of course, you could always comment on our items on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We're on TikTok. Follow us there. We always put out great content all across all the social media platforms. So join us wherever is most convenient for you. Want to thank you guys for taking the time to hang with us here on a Sunday. A little surprise show, historical moment. President Biden does not seek re-election. And like I said, we're back with you here Monday evening, 8:30, 8:45 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, and of course, replays available on Spotify and wherever you get your podcast. Have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday sauce if that's what you're doing. If not, enjoy whatever you're eating, and we'll catch you guys on Monday.